I see attendees, so looks like everyone's in just about. Welcome everyone to our final commission meeting of the term. We are happy to have Councilmember Brianna Nadeau here with us to round out the year. So without further ado, the floor is yours. As you know, we always welcome a little presentation if you want to brag about things, and then do please leave us ample time for Q&A. So maybe no more than 10 minutes if you would oblige.
Sure. Brag, rant, Um, good evening and thank you for having me. The council has been very busy, and my committee, which is the Committee on Public Works and Operations, has also been very active. Today, the council heard from members of the public. Actually, that hearing is going on right now still, about how federal interference in our city has impacted them. This is a hearing in the Committee on the Judiciary. Residents, advocates, legal experts, and public and community organizations testified. Right now, there are students testifying, and then there'll be more government testimony, which I will go back for. I think if we finish on time for the Vehicular Safety Act, which is road closures using barriers instead of police cars and dump trucks. So since September, the mayor has repeatedly told the public that MPD is no longer cooperating with federal immigration officials, but in the hearing just now, when I had the opportunity to ask MPD and the deputy mayor about this, it was very clear that my definition of not cooperating with feds and her definition are very different. She confirmed that ICE and HSI are part of roll call, patrol. We've seen them sharing vehicles and riding in caravan. And my only conclusion that I can draw from cross-examining her today and watching Chairman Mendoza do it after me and then Robert White do it after him is that we just have to update the Sanctuary Values Act, because MPD's lawyers think that what they're doing is completely legal. And in my opinion, it completely violates the spirit of the Sanctuary Values Act and everything our community has said is not acceptable. And we're seeing our neighbors be terrorized, be kidnapped, be held, and families torn apart. And it's worse than it's ever been under Trump too, and especially since the occupation began in August. I did a hearing last month in my committee about whether these actions violate the DC Human Rights Act. And we had more than 50 people testifying that day. And that was when I cut it off at 50 people, because wanting to have a meaningful conversation, there would have been many more if we hadn't cut that off. Earlier this week, a federal judge confirmed what many of our residents have already lived. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has been carrying out warrantless civil immigration arrests in D.C. without meeting even the bare minimum legal requirement. And the judge described it as arrest first, ask questions later. So this is what we're dealing with, and I'm going to continue doing whatever I can to make sure that we tamp down on the local practices while also not working together with these feds. Related, the court ruled last month what we've known all along, that the federal occupation of the district by the military is unwelcome, unlawful, and unjust. There's a victory for democracy here, and I thank our Attorney General for taking this to court. The shooting of two West Virginia National Guard members in Farragut Square was a senseless tragedy, and my heart goes out to them and their families. I believe they buried the young guardswoman who died today, and none of this had to happen. They never should have been here. More bad news from the feds. The House of Reps voted last month to repeal DC policing legislation and bring back cash bail. That, in my opinion, is an affront to democracy, because those are laws that we passed as duly elected officials here in the District of Columbia that undermine the voice and the vote of 700,000 U.S. citizens and legal residents that live here. These bills would make us less safe, not more. They'll cause confusion in policing and pretrial detention protocol, and they will undo years of public safety advances in the district, allowing dangerous people who can afford bail out on the streets and keeping less dangerous people who are poor in jail, even while presumed innocent. Hopefully, these bills will not come up for a vote in the Senate. or won't pass if they do come up. I've said it time and time again. These House votes make clear that DC must be given the full rights of statehood and self-determination. I'm sure there's no opposition to that here at 1B. Oh, and fun, today Senator Mike Lee introduced a bill to repeal a law that I introduced, our SHIELD law, that protects those who provide abortion and gender-affirming care. So we're going to continue to follow this should it move through the legislative process on the Hill. Transitioning to some recent work at the council directly, you may have seen that DDOT has significantly changed streetery regulations in the district. This is a very hot topic. I want to say not as hot in 1B as some of the other parts of Ward 1, but I had a lot of concerns about how the impact of this change and these changes would impact our businesses. And so this week I joined Councilmember Allen in co-sponsoring emergency legislation. Provide a clear timeline for enforcement of the new regulations, lower the price per square foot to have a streetery to $15, lower than their proposed $20 per square foot. It allows for exemptions for businesses to have streeteries that are enclosed and weatherized. And because otherwise the DDOT regs were forbidding the sides or roofs, which meant people really couldn't use them year round. And there's also an amendment I introduced that's going to bring additional DDOT resources and planning to pedestrianizing 18th Street corridor in Adams Morgan. So I'm glad we got that done. A lot of businesses said they weren't going to participate anymore because of those two particular things, which is the price and the winterization. And so hopefully this will help make it more affordable for businesses that really do want to participate, but also because there's a price for people who really weren't using their spaces and didn't care because they weren't free. Those are going to go away. So the council was also supposed to consider an emergency proposal this week that would have required a needs assessment before implementing ranked choice voting, which was ultimately pulled from consideration because it would have cost money to implement, and that's not allowable in an emergency measure. We worked really hard to whip the votes against this, and I do believe it would have failed if it came up. And Councilmember Wendell Felder is proposing to bring it up again. I think we need to call it what it is. It's a delay tactic. If you want to see something implemented well, you do oversight. You don't require a study be done before implementation. The board of elections director repeatedly said in her roundtable last month that they are ready to implement ranked choice voting. She talked about extensive outreach they're doing, education campaigns, hands-on demonstrations, online training tools, sample ballots, in-person training at ANC meetings. Get in on that. Schools, libraries, and postcards, voter guides, and information to accompany mail-in ballots. They're finalizing these plans this month as they do a few preliminary trainings, and they'll tweak it based on what they learn. I offered to host one ward-wide. We should do as many as possible. Want people to get comfortable with the new way of voting because it's really going to be awesome once people realize that their vote has become more powerful and that they can choose to rank candidates rather than just pick one and hope for the best. So I'm excited. And I believe in the Board of Elections. In the time that I've been here over the last 11 years, we've really pushed them and they have followed through and shown up every time. They launched the mail ballot initiative during COVID and it was tremendous. And now it's what we do for all elections. One other update, ERAP, for months there have been clues that last month's reopening of the emergency rental assistance program would go badly. No amount of council oversight could have prepared us for the debacle that unfolded, during which residents waited for hours in line outside and where phone lines crashed repeatedly. This is just completely unacceptable. I used to be chair of the Committee on Human Services, which oversees ERAP, and DHS should never have forced residents to stand in line for hours in the cold and should have been prepared for a crush of phone calls. And I think they should apologize. I mean, they kind of have, but this was a foreseeable disaster. And we are continuing to work with residents that weren't able to access the application on the first 2 days. Feel free to reach out to us and we will try to get them scheduled. I believe they are scheduling January and March right now. Um, so um, I'm holding a trash roundtable on Monday, which I'm very excited about. You know how much I love talking trash. We've seen a lot of issues lately with our trash collection in neighborhoods. Um, we're going to hear from ANCs and the agency. We hope a lot of council members will come to ask questions. Director and I talked today about how they're preparing for the roundtable, told them to bring maps. So hopefully we're going to really get into the nitty gritty with them and talk about where the service challenges are and why they're happening, what we need to do for the workforce and equipment and technology to get us where we need to go, which should be trash that gets collected regularly and recycling as well. We'll also talk about litter cans and street sweeping in the roundtable. Okay. Let's see. I think you guys are talking about the Reeve Center tonight. That is proceeding. Pre-development is taking a while, as expected, but it is moving along. 625 Park, 625 T Street Park. It's now with DPR. They are doing the initial site remediation. And what else? I think I'll stop there so we have time for questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. You raised a million issues, which is a tribute to how much work your office is doing, of course. I wanted to ask you real quick on the streeteries. How do you think about making these tweaks to the guidelines, which we all agree with, but after the fact that a lot of them haven't come down already? I mean, do
Yeah,
you still think you can save the program, or are businesses gonna circle back and build new ones if they pull them down? That seems like pretty unlikely. So how do you think about just the timeline?
I think what's going to happen is um, we will see some new ones go up in the spring because there's not a lot of benefit. People just don't use them as much in the winter. Um, and some of the ones that came down were going to come down and stay down. Like, we know we have businesses that have closed, right? And there was just like not a lot of impetus to taking them down. In Adams Morgan, they did that pilot with DDOT and it was limited engagement. So those were all going to have to come down because they weren't the right size anyway. Although what we did over there was in the 11th hour, got DDOT to actually protect that curbside space. So the platforms went away this week, but they put up the rubber stoppers and it's going to be travel lane, parking lane, curb space. And there's going to be a combination of loading, parklets, streeteries, bikes, etc. And they haven't decided what the hardened infrastructure will be yet. But it's very exciting because it's once you give curb space back to parking, it's a whole thing to get it back to another use again. And so we really pushed at that because they were going to go back to the center lane um, striping that everybody used illegally for loading and was really dangerous. So um, I'm pleased with that. And I think it'll be an example for some other spaces. I think streeteries have been good because they've demonstrated we can use curb space for other things. And so I want to keep pushing on that. I think 18th Street will help us push on that in other areas too.
Great, thank you for that. And if I can turn to the public safety roundtable today and the questions you had for the mayor and the deputy mayor. Um, Interesting that they confirmed that ICE and other federal agencies are still present at roll call and the caravans and all of that. We had Deputy Mayor Apia here in November at our meeting a month ago, and I asked her, in the absence of a 287G agreement between the federal government and the DC government, was there like an MOU or any kind of document that governed MPD's relationship? Like, what are their guidelines? And she said there was no such thing. Um, so I don't know. Do you have anything? Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any? I mean, the thing that people ask, I think the most common question is MPD collaborating or how are they collaborating, right? We get asked that by our constituents all the time. And it's hard to give answers, right? Because there's not like a central document to point to. There isn't an MOU, 287G. There really doesn't seem to be a lot of written guidance. So How do you think about that? And is it your understanding that a lot of this is just calls that are being made at the operational level? Is it the chief? Is it the deputy mayor and the SBEOC? What's your understanding of the mechanics there?
There's this thing called the task force, right? And that's where all the collaboration happens. And ICE, Homeland, HSI are still part of that task force, right? So unless they are kicked out and said, like, you don't belong here anymore, we're going to keep seeing what we see. I mean, the public doesn't need data to know that this is happening. Anyone who's in one rapid response signal chat right now is getting bombarded all day long, let alone multiple, right? And we have multiple in our neighborhoods. Um, we have to trust our own eyes, and we have to, as many people said in the hearing today, we protect us. I don't think they were talking about White Lady Brienne, but you know what I mean. Like our community in Ward 1 has always looked out for itself, each other, etc., regardless of what the government's been doing. And I think we're seeing that now again because we can't trust our police right now to not assist in the kidnapping of our residents. It's a terrible thing to have to say in a public meeting, but it is accurate. And I was driving by the 4th District substation this weekend, and I saw a black Escalade with Virginia plates in front of the substation. The plates had black plastic bags over them. And MPD was right there, and they were all loading tactical gear into the back of the Escalade. I don't know where they were going. Maybe they were going to serve warrants. Why did they need to cover up the license plates? That shouldn't be allowed. And you shouldn't be allowed in the task force if you're breaking local laws. I mean, we don't have control over all of this, but we decide how we participate and cooperate. And this to me is completely unacceptable. And I've heard the mayor say, I shouldn't be part of the task force. So why are they? They
Hmm.
are. Or maybe it's HSI, but it's these are homeland agencies. So
Sure. And the deputy mayor did say they've been trying to get them taken off the task force, but I'm assuming that's a White House call and there's
I
not
don't
much
know.
they can
How hard
do.
is it? I don't know.
Good question.
I have not found any of the answers satisfactory personally, and
Yeah,
I did not get much out of my questioning of the deputy mayor. And I actually ceded 2 minutes back because I was tired of getting canned answers.
sure. It reminds me, there's been a plate with like electrical tape over it's a USG and FOUO plate, and there's electrical tape over the lines that say US government for official use only that parks outside our substation. And I feel like
Yeah,
it's such a violation. I don't want to I want to ask a half question because I want to move on to other people. Um which just fell out of my brain. I'll come back around to it. Matthew Holden's had his hand up patiently, so I'll circle back.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Councilwoman, for being here tonight. I just wanted to stress the DPW issues, and thank you for your work on the oversight for that. In 1B07, kind of the western side of the ANC, we've had a lot of persistent issues with like the same blocks on the same weeks, like not getting their recycling, especially recycling, actually, recycling and trash not picked up. So I just want to kind of like highlight that and stress that, it's a nuisance for residents and rat problem. So thanks.
totally. And I think we have your blocks to talk to them about. But if not, make sure you send them to Nicole in the chat and we'll make
All
sure
right,
we get over to them.
great.
One of the things that I have learned is there's sort of a it's going to get worse before it gets better situation going on with some of the improvements we've been working on with the agency. So for example, we have a lot of small alleys that the trucks have a difficulty getting into. And so DPW agreed that that was a problem and started bringing back some of the little trucks they're like the zippy ones, which we need, but the transition's been real clunky. And we've been doing some matching up of where the collections inconsistencies have been, and a lot of them have overlapped with the change. And it's like once we can make those connections, we can be like, that's what it is. They now have two supervisors there's a name for the little trucks. I will figure it out before Monday. But there's now two supervisors, just over the past couple of weeks, I think they put on those routes, and they have been solving some of these issues. The supervisor piece, by the way, is huge, right? Because the way the shift work is for collections is very different than you would think for most jobs. It's like you do your route and then you leave. And so we also are running a pilot in Ward 1 with DPW where the supervisor has to run your route before you can go home. So we're sticking with it, but it's not like we're nowhere near mission accomplished, right? So I'm looking forward to getting into it more, which is why I told them to bring maps on Monday because I want to see it all. Thank you for
Great.
raising that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kenseth, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Councilmember. Was there any thought or consideration put into with the streeteries for places like we know, like say Barcelona or Diplomat? Yeah, they can easily afford it. It doesn't matter to them; they'll pay whatever. But for companies that are smaller businesses that are trying to grow, that might still want that outside business for snow purposes, like they might fill up and they might just have want the habitary. Was there anything looked at in terms of giving them maybe a better price or maybe some kind of something that we could do to assist them in their endeavors if they chose to keep theirs? I know that since 2021, when COVID happened, these started being built. I find them all to be a pain in the ass, to be frank with you. But especially on the roads with bikes and cars and everything else, it's just too much. It's an extra thing. But at the same time, looking for these local businesses that are thriving and don't have the internal space, it would just be nice that if there was something at least offered to them, because some of them cannot afford what like a Barcelona or a Diplomat can afford. And that would just be something I'm wondering if that was ever talked about or discussed. Thank you.
Oh yes, all the fancy Ward 2 restaurants. So we made with Alan and I, with our emergency, we made the price per square foot the same as sidewalk cafes. So that just seemed appropriate. And it still acknowledges that curbside space is valuable and there should be a price for using it, but it makes it the same as someone who might want to do outside dining on the sidewalk. And they were originally an expansion space because not every restaurant has space for a sidewalk cafe. So I do think that makes a ton of sense that it would be the same price.
Thank you, Commissioner Fay.
Great. Thank you, council member, for being here. First things first, I just want to do a public thank you for all the contributions that your office made to Thanks Fest at Common Good City Farm over the Thanksgiving holiday. For those of you who don't know, this is a tremendous event that has a huge impact on the Kelly Miller community, lots of other communities in Ward 1 and in ANC 1B. And the council member and her team for many years have been playing a really significant and important role. And it was great to see so many faces there, happy and hungry and ready to enjoy the holiday because of your contribution. So thank you for that. And I don't even have a buttering up because I'm just going to say thanks again for 625T. So that's great news. In classic fashion, no one told us. So it's great for you to tell us. I will be reaching out them tomorrow with a copy to David and Nicole, and we will get our launch party scheduled at some point soon. The only other thing, just to kind of, since I've got your ear for 1 second, Park at Ledroit, we continue to work with both DGS and DPR on lights that are out. Again, your office has been tremendous, and you're continuing to be copied on emails. But just wanted to call your attention to the fact that it's still outstanding. And so any creative thoughts you've got about engagement, we'll take, but we certainly don't have to do it here.
Yeah, for sure. And I did see someone's suggestion that it could be an underground issue, and I'm hoping that DGS is exploring that because that seems interesting to me too.
Yeah,
So,
and we'll see where it goes, but not to
yeah,
fill up time here. But thank you for your continued engagement on that as well.
absolutely.
We have a couple
Did you
comments
remember
in
your
the.
question?
I'll come around to it. I'm going to get to the comments in the chat because they've been piling up. Although I'm looking for a question mark in here, and
Q&A.
it's a little difficult to find. So I'll just read them very briefly. One
Oh,
person
I
says they're
see that one. Okay.
very disappointed with the survey information.
Yeah. Do you want me
The
to
bus
just,
survey.
you want me to just go through them real
If you
quick?
could, I didn't know you could see them actually. So
I
sure.
can see them. Yeah, definitely. There is a comment here from one of our constituents who lives on 16th Street who's upset about the removal of one of the bus stops. We definitely have engaged on this topic. the Better Bus survey, we do believe ultimately is going to make service more reliable and consistent. But what I want to see is an expansion of service, and I want to see WMATA to have a bigger budget so that they don't have to make cuts just to stay afloat. And so that's something we'll continue to work on. And you know, we saw a lot of direct engagement. I know not everybody felt that way about it, but it wasn't our process, and we definitely will keep sharing that feedback with WMATA. We even did a Ward 1 session. It wasn't very well attended, so we will have to just, next time they do this, make sure that we get more people to our special Ward 1 session. Let's see. That was 2 for 1. This one does not seem, it's a comment, not a question. Okay, comment. Streeteries have been good, but I'm stuck by the sense of spaciousness on sidewalks where they've gone down on streets where pedestrians dodge servers and sometimes felt like you were squeezed into a narrow walkway. To me, it actually feels safer. Thank you. Appreciate that. We'll keep working on those too. Do streeteries have the same regulations as sidewalk cafes? They do not. You know where to find me though. So if you want to ask me about specifics, let me know. I'm not going to out who the people are, but they know who they are. And then just a suggestion, not a question, the turn from 12th Street onto Florida is extremely difficult to see oncoming traffic. I have several times had or seen close calls. Could the council consider putting in mirrors on the lamppost or else remove the parking spots right on the corner? Yeah, we will have them look at that, but I will say, first things first, if you can go to 311 and put in a traffic study request, that gets the ball rolling. And then send that to me and your commissioner. And we'll put it in front of DDOT and see what they want to do. And that goes for everybody. If you have an improvement, a safety improvement for DDOT on an intersection or roadway, you actually can start with 311. They've made it a lot easier than it used to be. They don't study them all. They have to choose. But it's a good start because then you can at least get it in front of them and have them weigh in one way or the other. So that is, I think we got them all.
Yeah, I think Gloria has a follow-up there. Karen, can you promote? Oh, Gloria, I see you put your hand down. So if you want to ask a question live, pop your hand back up, please. Okay, Karen, go ahead and promote her and we'll hear your question live. Go ahead, Gloria, you're good. You have to unmute yourself.
Hi, Miss Gloria.
As it relates to the survey of WMATA, it was handled so unprofessional. As elected officials, starting with the bottom, ANC, when you got a survey of this magnitude and you do not ensure that and it's also with my Ward 1 council member, who I never wanted to be removed from office, unlike others. But you know, let me say this from my experience as a native. You do all you can when you're running for offices to make sure that information that is important is received. You do it because you want to be either re-elected and or achieving the new slot that you all uphold. I am so humiliated with Ward 1 for failing to say, okay, everybody don't use social media. They got emails and they have also federal mail. And you exercise all of this when you're running. But a survey that I have to learn about 2 years ago that occurred is an insult to my intelligence. There's absolutely no excuse from anyone, starting with Councilmember Nadeau, all the way to all 11 or how many it is of commissioners in Ward 1. That this kind of information was not immediately shared, including my own commissioner. And I am appalled. There is no exception to that rule. Absolutely none. I use the bus. Don't have a car. and love it. For 68 wonderful years, I don't need no car in my city where I was born and pay taxes. I don't need that. That's one thing you would love about Washington, D.C. And I'm appalled at every commissioner there except for the one who's over Charleston on 16th and S, when it's a 1 block radius to Aura. But yet I didn't have anybody advocating for me until after the bus stops was removed. And to say, okay, it's posted in the booth. Who care about a booth when you're trying to get on a bus, honey? And I'm walking with all of my faculties. I am very, very displeased behind that. And I hope that the incoming mayor will get it resolved. Because there's no way you can do for one and not do for the other. Because the history is at Camden Roosevelt. It's not at no Charleston Cooperative. But whoever the ANC from that single member district, I give you commendation. Because damn it, it wasn't done here. And I'm going to say this. The next time something like that happens, I'm going to exercise my knowledge of Fox News. Now try me and see if that doesn't happen. I'm still working on it. I have not stopped working on it. And I don't accept excuses. Not whatsoever. Thank you so much. That's all I got to say.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Do you have a response you'd like to offer? You spoke to it already.
We've talked to Ms. Hightower about this a few times. So I think we've, she's heard. She's heard. Okay,
great. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Hightower. I'll circle back to my question quickly, and then we've hit 7 o'clock, so we'll move on. I wanted to follow up on that point about DHS components on the task force, where they ought not be, but they are. Again, this is, I guess, just a procedural question, and I wonder if you have a clearer sense of it than we've been able to get. Obviously, we're out of the direct federal control of MPD period, of the first 30 days in August and September, when there was a mechanism for the federal government to make requests of MPD in a direct manner. What we're trying to understand is DHS doing that through that task force now directly to MPD? Again, this is like in the context of there not being an MOU or any kind of governing agreement. Is it all happening sort of informally through that task force, and sort of that's how information is communicated?
It's impossible to know. I mean, those are exactly the right questions, but the chief didn't even come to the hearing today. Right? There was an assistant chief I had never met before, who I'm sure is wonderful, but didn't have any answers. I got a lot of, I do not recollect, which I've actually never gotten in a council hearing. And the deputy mayor just won't answer the questions without spinning. So it's impossible to know. And I think we just have to change the law. And I don't know how we're going to get that done with this Congress and this president, but we're going to have to just keep beating this horse and then change the law as soon as we can, because it's a nightmare, and they won't tell us.
Yeah.
And we deserve to know, all of us. Yeah.
The chief's order was obviously very thoughtfully crafted to sort of steer
and it
between
also needs to be rescinded, and they won't do that. The deputy mayor tried to tell me today it wasn't in effect. And I was like, well, it hasn't been rescinded. So it's in effect.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Attorneys across the land pulling their hair out at trying to make sense of that one.
Yeah. And I'm not even an attorney. So
right.
Did you want to kick it over to Commissioner, or do we have to go?
Commissioner Lemon-Strauss, I'm sure will be interested to speak on this point. He often is interested. So let's do one more question.
Okay, I can try to keep it quick. Thank you.
That's fine.
Councilor, last session, or maybe before, we had the deputy mayor on, and she, we talked about a couple of issues. One of the things we talked to her about is there's been several incidents at schools where federal agents have seemingly taken people off the street in front of students. They've then been harassing of school staff. I asked the deputy mayor if she'd be willing to engage with the school staff and perhaps try to help rebuild community within those schools by, attending a session with the students, apologizing on behalf of MPD, because she seemed to acknowledge that MPD's behavior was not appropriate. She with us at the session at the ANC, she said she would, and we could follow up. And I had a nice exchange with her chief of staff over email. It's since gone dark, and colleagues at the Charter School Alliance have also reported that the deputy mayor's office has stopped responding to them as well, having offered to set up time. I guess my question is your sense that the deputy mayor's office on public safety has become less communicative on this? Have they just decided they're going to burrow down and hope this all passes? And is there anything we can do, or is there anything we can?
Well,
I
don't
know.
think she answered any questions today, despite talking. So maybe it's a combination of the two, going dark and just spinning. But
So, is there anything? I think you've been strong on this, which is great. Is there anything we can do to help? Like, is there a we don't have much power here, but
no, I mean, that's a great question. I can think about it for you a little bit. I'm just frustrated, frankly, especially just coming from that hearing, and that's where I'm going back after this. I just think that it's ridiculous. I mean, we went from that to talking about the chairman's evidence. It's actually called the evidence-based violence reduction bill, where she was like, she picked apart every part of the bill, which is evidence-based, and studied, and was like, we don't do this here, we don't need this here, we don't do that. It was all ridiculous. And so I don't know how to work with it. I really don't. I mean, I don't know how to work with the deputy mayor that is saying evidence-based work doesn't work. So that's where I am right now mentally. Maybe ask me again tomorrow. We could workshop it a little bit.
We're right there with you, Councilmember. Don't worry.
Thank you for that. Since I know now that the panelists can see the Q&A, my whole approach to facilitating a meeting has changed. Councilmember, if you don't mind popping in there's a question about trash I think you can answer really quickly before you go.
Sure. Absolutely. Let's see. The specific info on Trash Roundtable on your website. Yeah, it's Eileen, it's at dccouncil.gov, and you can just click the hearings button. I think you can submit written comments there, so go for it. If you have any trouble, just email me. And there was another question about the
the building collapse. That's I think our ZPD chairman Christian can speak to it a bit more, but I don't know if this has risen to your office's attention in a few months. I don't know if there's anything since. I mean, council never. I think it was Chairman Mendelson who was interested in maybe holding a hearing to understand what had happened with this building collapse. It didn't materialize. I don't know if it's come up in any DOB oversight forums since then. We've had a long and interesting relationship with DOB now for a full year about it. I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add to that.
I am trying to remember if there was a charge, but you would know if there was a charge on that.
Not to our knowledge,
just
no.
yeah, I can't answer that one on the fly, but I can get an answer.
Sure.
And Nicole can you see if I drop my email in here? Can people see it?
We can repaste it if so.
Okay, yeah, great. So Lori, I will be happy to get back to you on that. Oh, your ZPD chair has his hand up too.
Yeah, Christian, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Yeah, that is a good question. I don't have any I don't have any updates in the last couple of months, but when we spoke with DOB last, which I believe was in September or August, I can't remember exactly the date. They had made some progress on hiring an independent inspector to sort of analyze their inspections process, and they were starting to implement that. They had made some changes via administrative bulletins to the way that they enforce inspections. And then with regard to the specific building, I actually don't know if any specific consequences have been levied against anybody involved in the collapse from the contractor or the property owner, whoever. But I do know that there was an ongoing OSHA case, which I think is completed. And at the time we spoke to DOB, they were sort of waiting to have that finished.
Right. That makes sense to me too. There you go.
That's the update I have.
Nicole's reminding me, yes, that it was the OSHA thing that we were still waiting on. So thank you, Christian.
Let me send around an email actually just to memorialize that with you and especially Nicole copied, and we can brief each other and see if there's any other levers we have to push now that if the OSHA thing's turned.
HCMA is up at the hearing on my bill, so I'm gonna run, but so thank you for the perfect timing tonight. And I appreciate all of you, and I hope that you have an excellent meeting.
Thank you very much. Nice to
Thank
see you.
you. Bye.
With that, we will move into the formal meeting. I call the meeting to order at 7:12 p.m. Secretary Fay, will you do the honor?
I will. Commissioner Barrio.
Here.
Excellent. Commissioner Sycamore.
Did it not come through? Here.
All right, perfect. Commissioner Lemon Strauss.
Here.
Commissioner Kenzik.
Present.
And driving, Commissioner Trindade, Chair Trindade Duramo.
Present.
Commissioner Holden.
Here.
Vice Chair Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
Present.
And Commissioner Fay is here with 9 of 9. We have quorum. Do you want to do the call of the chairs as well?
No,
Yeah,
not required. Thank you.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Very happy to have a full house. Let's jump right into it, and we're going to tinker with the agenda a little bit. So don't go far away, all of you, please. First things first, as always, the consent agenda, which includes the meeting minutes from our November meeting, as well as the draft agenda laid before you, the product of much toil by Secretary Fay and Karen. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you very much. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, pop up a hand. Thank you. So, all those opposed, the consent agenda is approved. Thank you so much. I am going to use my authority to reorder the agenda, in fact, to prioritize something that's important to handle right away, if you guys don't mind. We have two settlement agreements, one for Buffalo Billiards and one for Spark Social House, that were circulated after the deadline for circulating settlement agreements, which is 8 a.m. the day of the commission meeting. So since we're bumping up against ABCA deadlines and we don't want to like blow up those processes, and these are non-controversial settlement agreements as far as I'm aware, what I'd like us to do is I would love to entertain a motion to suspend the rule, the 8 a.m. rule, and consider those two settlement agreements right up front. Is a commissioner willing to make that motion?
I'd love to make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanrahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions or points to make? Just make things easier and tie this up with a bow. All those in favor of suspending.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
In the suspension discussion, have there been back and forth conversations with the committee on these? So these are not coming fresh, brand new, Commissioner Hanrahan. These are things that have been under discussion, reviewed previously, and so it's not as if these are coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, this has been ongoing for, I think, like 3 committee meetings, 3 or 4 committee meetings, so definitely not.
Great.
Okay. Hearing no further points of debate, all those in favor of suspending the 8 a.m. rule to allow consideration of the settlement agreements for Spark and Buffalo Billiards, please raise your hands. One, two, three, four, five. 9 in favor, none opposed. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We can let's just consider them right now. It's a little bit unorthodox, but since we voted on it, and while we have a full house, I'd love to just get through them since I don't want to. I know we're going to lose some commissioners over time. So Commissioner Hanrahan, if you have them available to show and discuss, let's just take care of them before we do our committee reports.
Let me bring them up. And yeah, I'm sorry about the 8 a.m. rule. I feel like we've sent out some resolutions kind of at the last minute prior.
No, that's only for settlement agreements.
Only for settlement agreements. Okay. Well, yes, we have 2 before us here. So the first one is for Spark Social Club. they any new things here in the settlement agreement. Um, they dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I believe they kind of agreed. So went there and checked out the location. They have a really nice patio in the back. But they on their license they had endorsements of hours of live entertainment for the summer garden. I think it was words of it till 1 a.m. on Sundays and 3 a.m. on weeknights, some weeknights, even Thursday. We've had a past resolution where we tried to exclaim that, especially things like amplified noise in the summer garden, this is something that we, want to try and have these things be across the board for establishments in ANC 1B, and we want to make that clear for every establishment. Um, and so they agreed to an hours of live entertainment for the summer garden to ending even on the weekdays at 1:30 a.m., which is much earlier than originally. We did have like our resolution, we did say, no amplified noise past like 10 p.m. But we kind of, made sure that those noise clauses are pretty well written, specifying that the applicant shall ensure the noise decibels are not louder than 60 decibels in the day and 55 at night. Making sure that their interior speakers are on stands. Um, we also we also agreed with the applicant to have the hours of operation of alcohol beverage sales to end at midnight on the weekdays and 2 a.m. on the weeknights for the summer garden. So that's an hour earlier than or sometimes 2 hours earlier than the alcohol sales are indoors. So I think that some of these things, Spark is a great place and they have kind of a low-key vibe, but they don't have currently like a liquor license. So um, I do have this kind of slightly exposed summer garden, so I consider this very agreeable and amendable to some of our wishes and some of the um, parallels or things we're trying to make sure all establishments have there. And I'm pretty happy with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you want to move to adopt it? And then we'll take any questions or
Sure, yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, so I would motion to support the settlement agreement. Oh, the other thing is that if we don't support the settlement agreement, because we then opted to support their stipulated license, we might lose our grounds for protesting again because we kind of technically withdrew our protest. So we have no other option, maybe.
Well, but it seems like this one went the way that we would always hope a settlement agreement would go, which is you raised concerns to the establishment outside of any protest process. They said, we'd like to work with you. You worked with them and you got to a point where community needs were met and the establishment feels comfortable about the ground rules for operation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This was, yeah, yeah, this one and yeah, both, yeah, painless, and I think both agreeable and felt good walking out of it that this is a good place you want to celebrate in the neighborhood and a model for other establishments.
Okay, very happy to hear it. Questions?
Sorry, with
Commissioner
a
Holden?
motion, I will second.
Oh, thank you for seconding. Questions, points of debate?
Just quick comment. Yeah, no, thank you so much, Commissioner Handrahan. They're a great establishment. The owner is fantastic. They're very community minded, and I'm looking forward to supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, with that, all those in favor of adopting the settlement agreement with Spark Social House, please raise your hands. Zoom hands preferred. And that's 8 in favor. Commissioner Lemon-Strauss. We'll call it 8 in favor and 1 abstention. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Commissioner Hanrahan, you want to go with Buffalo Billiards?
Yes. Yeah, so I also feel Buffalo Billiards we kind of tried to get that early jump on the settlement agreement. There's been a couple of back and forths. I think we kept pushing it forward on a couple of items there from our initial discussion. So our initial discussion of the settlement agreement really focused on restricting alcohol sales in the summer on the sidewalk cafe to not being later than midnight and 1 a.m. on the weekdays and weekends. That was initially very much agreed upon, as well as our general normal template and clauses here. Um, and then a couple other, concerns came up. This is an old theater space, and so I think some of the community was feeling the loss of the theater aspect. But uh some of the coming up was another thing was about deliveries to making sure that, hey, this is gonna be a big bar, there's gonna be a lot of deliveries. There's a bike lane in front. We want to make sure there's a loading zone there for the business to get their deliveries. And we also included statements that they should try and get their deliveries in the back, or also the loading zone on T Street. So that was another I consider a tiny detail, but a big win, a bit of a win. Can be a big win. And then we actually went back to the committee and then raised further concerns about, well, there's a 500 person occupancy, right? The 500 person occupancy is really based on the theater and the fact that if nothing would be in there. But the applicant was actually really generous and they showed us floor plans. I don't have the floor plans in front of me right now, but they have floor plans for, where all the pool tables will be, where some shuffleboard tables will be, where tables and chairs will be. They have actually in their floor plan, they have some designated spaces for even like accessibility for like folks who have accessibility challenges can access tables and access maybe even shuffleboard. I'm not even sure about the shuffleboard, but at least I saw something by a table, so that seemed pretty exciting. And they show us the floor plan. So we asked them today at the mediation, or I asked them today at the mediation about, if we could have something in the settle agreement that kind of outlines a certain number of threshold of people per floor. And they kind of responded that, the number that is included in the certificate of occupancy, which is the fire marshal deems a certain amount of people per floor, they will send to us when that comes out, and that will be included. That language is included in the settlement agreement. So I consider that a really big win because I trust the fire marshal for their amount of numbers for how much they think will be on per floor. Um, and then the other thing that came up was they had this ADA ramp, and a lot of the existing space is like converted as like built out with a lot of accessibility features, and we just wanted to ensure that those accessibility features there's a commitment to keeping them in there for the next for Buffalo Billiards' um tenure. And so they agreed for that as well. And then finally, the Sidewalk Cafe, though it is a little bit small, we kind of also wanted to make sure that there is, not much more queuing that's happening in the Sidewalk Cafe. And they kind of agreed that, to try and remove tables and chairs, or, move them aside when there is queuing and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I think the owner has a lot of really good reputable establishments in the district, such as like Lost and Found. He listed a couple others, I forget their names, but has lives on Swan Street. Is a very local guy. Wants to be in the area, wants to be near other restaurants and other bars so that people go there before the restaurant or after a restaurant to kind of add to that dynamic place without being like a raging nightclub. And so, yeah, I think I really like that they showed their floor plan of how they were going to set up their establishment, and talk through it and kept agreeing to these different kind of clauses in the settlement agreement. And I think this is really at a good place right now.
Okay. Make the motion, sir.
I motion to support the settlement agreement for Buffalo Billiards on the fourth
Beautiful.
day of December 2025.
Thank you so much. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Wonderful. Questions? Discussion? Yes, Commissioner Fay.
Commissioner Holden's going to jump through the phone and try to smack me, but I'm just going to ask it with hopefully a very light. Were there any issues that needed to be resolved with the whole arts overlay, or was that all squared up and we're good?
I believe that is all squared up and we're good.
So Matthew Holden, you hear how I asked it. It was a leading question, right? We addressed it, but we're good.
You prepared when you emotionally prepared me for what was about to happen.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanrahan.
Cool. Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the settlement agreement as presented, Zoom hands, please. We've got 9. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, ABCR. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you all for allowing us to do this.
Absolutely. Happy to. Is ABCR taking a break in January, by the way? Did you decide
I
to?
really hope we are. We are going
All right.
to we're going to Cancun. No, we're not.
Okay.
But
Yeah. Seriously, just
we're
charter a
not
whole flight.
working.
I mean, it's a very small flight, really. It wouldn't be that bad.
Small flight. That's true.
Okay, cool. Let's return to committee reports. Economic development is up first. Take it away.
Okay, put my 3 minutes up on the board. Two primary discussion items from this. There are actually three, but we'll just focus on the two primary discussion topics. One was the Reeves Center. I think the council member was generous in saying that progress continues to happen. It's like saying, "Is the grass growing?" And obviously it is, but you just can't see it. It is taking a very, very long time. DemPed acknowledged as much. They did say, look, we're continuing to meet, we're continuing to work through this, but changing economic conditions, across all of the DMV is really challenging both the developer and DemPed to, be able to frame up and outline what they want. What was confirmed to us is that they are hoping to have a proposal, or at least proposed development terms and into the public uh, early in 2026. Once that happens, they do become public. The ANC will have an opportunity to weigh in on them. The community will have an opportunity to weigh in on them, and they will ultimately go to council. So as soon as that happens, I'll be keeping an eye out. I'll let the commission know, and then the Economic Development Committee will definitely be doing a hearing on the proposed items. The second item is continuing to focus on the comp plan. Comp plan entered phase 2. There were 2 open houses scheduled. I went to the one on November 15th, saw a whole bunch of friendly faces there. They're making good progress. I wanted just to read through a couple of very quick things to the commission so that you are aware. From a timeline perspective, phase 2, which is what we're in now, will go through March of 2026. Phase 3, which is the create our plan, so is the drafting process, April 26 through June of 27. Legislative approval, July of 27 through February of 2028. And so what that means is that they are still doing a lot of feedback and exploration right now through March of 26. They'll be drafting the plan over the course of the next year. And we will have plenty of opportunities for weigh in on all of that. The other thing that I wanted to share, just for folks to think about, I'll be sending this out to the commission members after the call, is that they did solicit a lot of input around housing development priorities. That is, of course, one of the top focus areas for the comp plan. And so they, based on the feedback, identified their top 5 in rank order. So their development priorities for housing expansion, add housing near transit hubs, which is, near metro stations. Prioritize new housing downtown by converting old office building to housing. That really could include things like the Reeves Center or 1617, kind of as a theme. Focus on creating more family-sized homes was number 3. Add small apartment buildings near commercial corridors, U Street, 14th Street, examples of that. And then increase housing in areas with fewer residences, so adding density to places that are currently not dense. So those are kind of working assumptions that they're using right now, and they will be continuing to test that out and to build out their proposals. We'll be doing more community input, and the Office of Planning folks will be coming to the Economic Development Committee meeting either in January or in February. I'll let you all know and encourage you to attend.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Thanks for all that. So all of the stuff that we've voted for in past commissions and designs and everything, that's kind of all out the window at this point. They're kind of redoing all of it.
It's a good question. I think they are kind of keeping very open minds, I think is the best way to say it. It sounds like they're reevaluating the chapter organization of the comp plan. So they are not beholden to the idea of the quote unquote mid-city, which is the chapter in the comp plan that included 1B in the last rewrite. And so they're kind of trying to be more holistic in their approach. I would say, though, Commissioner Sycamore, if there are items that you look at as being real priorities, send them as an email to myself and to Chair Brandt, because what we're going to start doing is collecting, priorities from folks. And so if you've got things that you felt were very clear from the last round, that you want to make sure are included, please send them. One of the things that we are doing is we've taken the last comp plan, we've broken it down into its component pieces, and we're going to start to survey the committee members, economic development, and I'll ask Chair Brandt about his interest in zoning, to essentially kind of reaffirm that those remain priorities, or to deprioritize them so that at least we've got where we were or where we are today, using that as a starting point, prioritizing them, and then pulling forward into the next plan, the things that remain a priority.
Yeah, it just seems like just because it was such a headache and so much arguing and so many opinions, so many strong feelings the first time around, it almost feels like like we kind of did all of that for nothing, like attending all of the meetings, or I guess I'm not sure like how far back we're going to redevelop is kind of again another question I have.
Yeah, and look, I'll you should definitely come to economic development when they come, ask some of those questions. I will ping them on that as well. What are
Okay.
you planning to pull forward, and what are you planning to kind of leave behind? And
Okay.
then again, I'm happy to get with you offline because it sounds like you've got a very kind of rich perspective on what we had done previously.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Congrats, ED, for always knocking it out of the park. Committee on Public Safety is next. Commissioner Barrio.
Yes, thank you, Miguel. So the Committee on Public Safety met last month, and we heard from the Howard University Chief of Public Safety, David Taylor. He is very interested in working with the ANC and working with the community in and around Howard. So it was great to hear from him, and I think we'll probably be hearing from him soon. So potential good candidate for a guest speaker at a future meeting if we'd like. I thought it was interesting that he noted that Howard University's public safety team is very much active in the community. They are not just right next to Howard. They are at 9th and U. They are down on Florida Ave. So they're on Georgia Ave. So they are in and around the community. Um, Other notable public safety events that occurred in ANC 1B, there was an arrest made in the 14th Street fatal stabbing that occurred on September 13th, 2025. So it's great to hear that hopefully that case is solved. And then, just a brief readout on the crime stats. Total crime is down from last month to this month, from 131 incidents to 77. There were no homicides in the last month, at least according to DC's crime stats. So that was very good news. Assaults with a deadly weapon were up from 1 to 4. So that's kind of an interesting trend. I'm not sure what that might be about. So we'll have to monitor to see if that stays true in the future. But yeah, that's my readout. I mean, we're continuing to monitor the situation with, MPD involvement with immigration enforcement. I think the council member spoke to that very well, and she's, on the one hand, she's more informed about it than anybody, and on the other hand, I think it was notable how little we actually know and understand about, what are the policies governing MPD's work with federal law enforcement. I do think it's just like notable that, whether we talk about ICE or whether we talk about HSI, like every federal law enforcement agent has immigration enforcement powers now under the Trump administration. So that's not to say that they're all doing the same things, but that's where some of the confusion may come from, where it's like every agency could be involved with deporting people.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the commissioner? Seeing none. Committee on Transportation, Parks, and Public Space, please.
Great. So first item, we have 3 resolutions tonight from last month's meeting. I just want to note before we get to it that the multifamily disabled parking resolution, I messed up. I think. And like the version that's in the packet is one we discussed, but wasn't the final. So I sent around like at the start of the meeting to all the commissioners what the final one is. The spirit of the resolution is exactly the same, but the one that the committee approved just has some more resolved clauses and there's more language in it. So it's just a longer resolution, but ultimately it's the same. So just sorry about that. And then two items that are interesting for the community. I think DDOT is doing a strategic bike ways plan. It's like what they're calling the master bike plan now. And they just held the Ward 2 specific outreach meeting earlier this week, but there's still, did I say Ward 2, Ward 1, whatever. Ward 1, it was on the 2nd of December. So that's where I got 2 from. So Ward 1, meeting just happened, but there will be virtual open houses through the winter, citywide, that anyone can attend, January through March, and some more open houses in person later. So if you're interested in bike lanes in the city and getting around by bike or not, attend those, give feedback. TPPS will probably formalize some comments ANC wide at some point to submit. The other interesting thing is we received a presentation on the U Street Bus Priority Project. Some people might remember this from last term was really when the commission was talking about it more. There's a long pause in development of the plan because 2025 has been crazy, but they're picking it back up. And so they presented kind of the final concept and their schedule. They're going to get to final design next year with construction in 2027, probably. The most exciting things that I think are at Vermont and 16th, where you intersects those. They're going to put in dedicated left turn lanes. A lot of the backups that happen on the corridor are when people are waiting to turn. So this will have updates to the traffic signals, and dedicated lanes for turning that should help with traffic flow. There'll be bus bump outs for the bus stops, so it'll be easier for the buses to stop and people to get on and off. And the 16th and U intersection is going to be rebuilt to be better in general, but I'm running out of time. So I will put in the chat the link to the presentation. And if anyone has any questions about that, just let me know. But it seems very exciting, and I think it'll really improve travel along the corridor. One last quick final thing is I do have to, I have not told my committee this yet. I do have to cancel next week's transportation committee. We had a light agenda anyway, but I have some travel that just popped up and I just have to cancel it. So I will be informing the committee, but I thought I'd inform the community while I'm here. And that's it.
Thank you very much. You guys have been averaging like 16 resolutions a month, so I think you also deserve a break. So Cancun for all of you too. Any questions for Commissioner Holden? Seeing none, ZPD, Christian, take it away.
Hey everyone. So the majority of our committee meeting last month focused on two of the things that are on the agenda for later, and that is the Pools Act resolution and also 2008 17th Street, which is a historic preservation case. So I'll spare you the details of that because we'll talk about it later. We also reviewed and compiled some comments from ZPD committee members on the gentle density resolution, and I've provided those to Commissioner Barrio. And then in addition to that, we briefly discussed next steps when it comes to the comprehensive plan. And I think mostly what we're interested in is obviously land use related things that will require some triangulation between us, OP, and economic development, so we're not double dipping the wonderful staff at OP's time. But next month, there's actually nothing on our agenda at the moment. No one is doing any development, it seems. Or at least development that requires our review. So there is a possibility that in the holiday spirit, I will postpone the committee meeting until January, unless something else crops up in time. So that is our update.
Thank you. So, please remember to let Karen know when you're fiddling around with committee meetings so that the calendar online reflects it. And Karen, just for your awareness, I'm going to go and delete the PPPS meeting right now. Thank you so much, Christian. You brought up the matter of the comprehensive plan resolution, the gentle density resolution. A good reminder that we are postponing consideration of it until our next meeting. So, but thank you for compiling ZPD's comments. We'll be looking at that written
Well, there were some
compilation
committee
when
members
we
who did
consider.
not send me comments, so this gives them more time
And they would be
to
Sun
send me
Life.
comments.
Please let them know. I would
Great.
appreciate that. Same for ED committee members. I know you guys looked at it twice, I think, at least. Happy to hear those. Next is ABCR. Stephen, you're back up.
Back up. Hello, back again. Um, yeah, we busy protest kind of coming out of the fall, tavern renewal licenses. We have quite a few active protests going on. Um, I think we are, yeah, as we just talked about, like we're also getting some settlement agreements out of this for new places or updated existing places. So I think there's a lot of really good work that we're doing. I want to work to like maybe even like tally up how many settlement agreements we made, or kind of like try to quantify the work we did this year, because I feel like we really did a lot. We there's also the mayor introduced the Noise Balance Amendment Act. I don't know enough about how council legislation works to tell you where it is. I think it has to go to a committee and be reviewed, but we're planning on submitting talking about it at a committee and maybe drafting a statement to vote on by the ANC in support of this, as I think some of the committee members has worked extensively to kind of submit testimony or um, help like inform the legislation by like their recommendations for it. So I think it's like kind of on hold right now. It hasn't like gone to a committee or been out to vote yet, but that's going to come up I think early next year, or February. But we still have some time. So but that's coming down the line. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, we are, yeah, I think just trying to kind of hammer out some of these harder ideas by like Ninth Street. There's a lot of like trash happening in the back alley by like 9.5 Street next to some residences, and a couple of lounges are facing up there. So some of our protests are like related to that issue. So, and it seems like a lot of effort is going to that. So maybe there'll be some kind of solution or improvement for that, because I think there was like really like the biggest rat hole I've ever seen back there. So we're doing a lot of really good work. We have a pretty quiet month ahead of us, but we might just talk about some of these active protests and kind of help work on these settlement agreements to make them stronger. That's about it.
Fantastic. I actually really love that you guys will have like a gap in your work enough to consider legislation in council, which is one of the responsibilities of the committee, but you just usually are so flooded out that you don't have time. So yeah, please let us know what's happening with that. I think it'll elicit strong opinions on many sides. If no other questions, we can do committee and community engagement. If we have, yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. I'll keep this pretty brief. We had a meeting last month. We talked about the farmers market again at 14th and U. Somewhat positive news after getting some disappointing news the month before that. Fresh Farm could not support. One of our committee members, Nick, told us that the RFK Farmers Market is looking for a new home. And so the committee is starting to reach out to the event coordinators of the RFK Farmers Market to see if there's a possibility of maybe relocating to 14th and U. And so that is just in the early stages. And so we'll keep everyone posted on that. But fingers crossed something comes from that. With the African American Civil War Museum grand reopening celebration, as I mentioned during the Cal meeting, we'll work with the ANC 1B commissioners to get some ideas on how we want to support, maybe some rough guidelines. and then bring it to the commission for some feedback, some thoughts on that. But we'll be working on that over the course of the early parts of 2026, because I think there's a general consensus that the commission would like to do something in collaboration of when the museum reopens. We're working on the Block Party How Do guidebook right now, and also putting some guidelines together in terms of how grant funds could be spent. Some examples could be like there's a certain set amount, for block parties. For other events, it's a other certain amount. Organizations may only qualify for 1 or 2 times a year. And the other thought was, how do we get more funds across all SMDs so every SMD has at least 1 or 2 community events in 2026? So we're working on that. Amanda, who was was the lead with the Seton Block Party, actually sent us over her version of a how-to guide, which was great. We'll combine that a little bit with the documents we have from LaDroit Parks, and then see if there's any others out there. But the goal is sometimes over the winter to put that together and publish it on the website. I'd say early spring of 2026. And then last but not least, we got a grant application from Common Good City Farm for the support of the Holiday Fest that's coming up next Saturday. And I don't know, I'm on my phone. I apologize. I can't see it on the screen, but I have it on what I'm looking at right now. Their application is for funds to support their event. Their Holiday Fest is an annual event that they do to support families in need at the holiday season, with providing them warm coats, food, games, things that would kind of make the winter and the holidays kind of allow families across the entire area to celebrate along that time. And they're doing a big coat drive, a big game drive, big food drive. Many of those things the ANC cannot apply grant funds for, but they're also doing marketing as well as other additional food at the event to encourage families to come to the event that are applicable to the event. And they originally asked for $750, but in keeping with the consistency of every other event this year, recommendation is to have it at $500 versus the $750. And I'm just trying to go through here. And if you want to open up the budget real quick.
I think we have it on our agenda for new business.
Oh, okay.
So
Never mind.
we'll circle back around to it.
Yep. Great.
Don't go anywhere. Watch this space. Any questions for Mike and the Community Engagement Committee?
Hey, Mike, this is Commissioner Sycamore. Sorry. Can I go? Sorry. Okay, thank you. Just really quick, I ran into some of the people at the mayor's office of Deaf and Hard of Hearing last night at the mayor's holiday get-together, and they were expressing a lot of interest in teaming up with us to try to provide some community engagement through that and some education for the community as far as like what deaf culture and sign language and things of that nature. So I'll be connecting with you at some point about that because they're really, really, really wanting to get involved with us.
Good. Excellent. That's fantastic.
Okay, thank you. If nothing else, we can turn to Executive Council Member and agency announcements. Nicole, if you'd like to lead off for the council member's office.
I think she covered it, so I don't have anything additional to add unless anyone has come up with a question since she gave her presentation.
Wait a second in case a hand pops up. There it is, Commissioner Barrio.
Yes, I'm realizing I definitely should have asked the council member herself while she was here, but I was wondering if you could briefly summarize what you think the reasons were the council member did not vote to support the extension of the youth curfew today.
Sure. So when looking at all of the tools that the mayor already has in her toolbox, and the facts on the ground, she didn't feel like it was necessary and could cause harm, especially at a time she spoke about this today as well, at a time when MPD is allegedly still collaborating with ICE and not being honest about that. We're asking the public to trust them that that also a curfew will be implemented in a certain way and that it will not adversely impact certain communities. That's a really big ask. MPD already closely monitors social media, like they've stopped ATV rallies when they're being planned before they happen. There was a planned youth takeover of U Street several weeks ago. They were able to determine who was planning it and leading it and got it stopped before it happened. Some folks are also pointing to an incident in Navy Yard that happened a while back, Halloween weekend, I think it was. That happened at 7:30, so a curfew actually wouldn't have impacted that occurring. And we really need to address why youth are engaging in these activities, and what we can do instead. And also working on regional coordination, working with our youth serving organizations, and working with parents who need support, and not having additional, interactions with police for our youth. So I think ultimately she really viewed it as a blunt instrument for a problem that we can address in other ways. And so ultimately she did not support the extension of it. So I hope
Thank
that's
you.
helpful, but happy to
Yeah.
chat more about it offline if you'd like to have more
No,
discussion.
it's a very, very helpful summary. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I'll ask a follow-up if I could. Is there a sense in the Wilson building of what other remedies are? I mean, no, legislative tools, probably not the entire answer here. This is often the case, but I mean, there certainly are tools, right? We've talked about, Banneker being closed after hours, and sort of things that would seem to be within the council's grasp or ability to budget for. What's the conversation like inside the building in terms of things that are not less blunt instruments?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. A lot of it is around how can we engage youth in other ways? How can we create safe spaces for them? How can we create, programming for them that they want to be at in places where they want to be? There were several young people testifying today about the curfew. Who talked about exactly that. And so that's really, I think, where a lot of the conversation is focusing is how can we kind of redirect this energy of kids wanting to gather and wanting to be out and wanting things that they can engage in. And so, that's something I think all of us are thinking a lot about.
Okay, thank you for that.
Right.
Anything else for the council members' office? Okay. With that, we have Anthony today from Mokers. Welcome back. Take it away.
How y'all doing, commissioners? Good evening. It's great to be back. Thank you. I have a few updates from the mayor's office, but want to make sure that we let the community know and let them know that we are running through the tape. The mayor announced a few weeks ago that she would not be running again, but we want the community to know we are running through the tape. What that looks like is that we want to make sure that the community know that they are still represented as always, is that doesn't change, and also that we will be looking at some big picture items, trying to just tie up some things before we go. And the top three things I can think of in Ward in 1B will be the recenter, get the answers for that. Like I think Mike was talking about that earlier. Like Matthew was talking about that earlier. Like getting that getting that settled. Also the 9th Street, the easement issue in the back of 9th and a half Street and 9th Street, like getting the answers to that. That's been going on for a while.
Thank
And
you.
so we're looking and always and also to for the commissioners in the community, any long-term things that's been going on that we have been working together on, anything like that, I'm putting a proposal together. So the things that they want the mayor to know that Ward One has been working on, and that this is things that we're concerned about getting complete or having the answers for before the end of before 2027. So if you can send me that, or I mean, send me anything that we have that you've been working on. Would appreciate that. I also want to let the community just reiterate the importance of using 311. that this is one of the ways we know that that the system is working. And it's important to have that documentation. Those are your receipts, so that when you do put the 311s in, no one can say, "Oh no, you didn't do your part," and then you can be able to get things escalated through the commissioners and myself. I believe that is. Oh no, it's not. I'm sorry. 5K. It's that time of year. 5K is coming up. The mayor's annual 5K race will be I think it's January 2nd, but I'll have all the stuff coming up. But just be aware, look out for the 5K. I think that's it. I'll be happy to take any questions at this time.
Go ahead.
Hey, Anthony, thank you so much. So just really quick, I sent an email to you and Stephanie about a month ago about the Pocket Park that's across the street from Whole Foods. And the developer is not keeping their end of the deal. I've kind of reached a dead end, and I haven't seen any response from you guys in about a month. So if you guys could just follow up on that, that would be fantastic.
No problem, Commissioner. We'll definitely take care of that, Commissioner. Sycamore. As you know, I was out for about 2 months, so I'm just coming back last week. I
Oh,
did see, but
I didn't
I
know
did.
that.
No, so I was out for about 2 months. I just came back last week, but I did see the email while I was out, and I will respond and get
Awesome. I'll push it up to you right now then. Thank you.
Yeah, the mayor's office had two big secrets this year, Jamie. One was whether the mayor was going to run or not, and the other was where was Anthony Robertson. But we're happy to have him back and healing.
Yes,
Um, uh, Anthony, quick question, and you may not have an answer, but if you can check into it and get back to us. This commission's been very supportive of the Ward 1 Violence Interrupter Program. We know that there is a change in the program's kind of onus and location, or sorry, ownership and location. And we know from the folks at One's, Quelly Sneed, that there is an active evaluation going on. We have written and submitted a couple of letters of support for our current Ward 1. And if you can check into that and just give us a sense of what the timing is, that'd be great.
no problem. I can do that, and I'll follow back up with you, Commissioner Clay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Barrio.
Yeah, this is something that I haven't reached out to you on email yet about, but I have been trying to chat with the traffic control officers in the U Street area. They directed me to the DDOT community engagement representative who has not responded to me yet. I think there's been some turnover issues there. So I was just wondering, yeah, I'll reach out over email, but like, what is the best way to try to engage with DDOT about traffic control on U Street? Do you have any ideas or thoughts? Because it is really important, and we're going to be talking more in the future about people who are parked illegally, selling alcohol, as well as just like, when we get into next year, there's going to be all the big holidays, and then we know that the streets can get pretty crazy. So hoping to get ahead of that before next year
No
or next
problem.
summer, really.
No problem,
Thanks.
Commissioner. So on the emails for DDOT, our representative for us is Keisha Anderson, but also it's good to loop in Tyler Williams as well, and myself, Tyler Williams and myself on that email. And we can proceed from there to get the conversation started and get the answers rolling.
Okay, I'll set up a chain for us. Thanks so much, and I really hope you're feeling better.
No, I am. I just had that fall on the bike.
Oh no.
Yes.
Well, good for you for biking.
Well,
Thank you, gents. Anyone else? Questions, comments for the mayor's office? Okay, we'll let you go. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Welcome back again.
thank you. Hey, I have a great
Thank
night.
you. You too. Any commissioner announcements or community announcements? Of course, any member of the community may speak for a minute on any topic. This is your time to shine. Seeing none. Oh, Commissioner Kenzik, go ahead.
Yeah, real quickly, I had said on the Cal meeting last week that I was going to be bringing up some factual stuff about Greater Washington, just all factual sheet. I do have that prepared, but I'm going to hold off on that until January, February of next year. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. I see a hand from Someone. Ah, Miss Karen Gall. Go ahead. Oh, hold on. Let us enable you. There you go. You can unmute.
I realized that you guys are so used to seeing me. Um, you thought I was on a call. But okay, I have we have our 3D CAC meeting coming up, the district wide monthly community meeting, which will be held on this month on the 18th via Zoom. We are having a holiday party, so we won't be able to have everybody join us, but we certainly want to see you all contribute to our holiday gift giving drive, in which we'll be proud to host our annual gift holiday gift giving drive to support the families and children in our community during the holiday. And that information has been sent around, and Karen has been so kind to put the meeting notice information on the website. We always appreciate the support, and we would like to make sure that any donations for the holiday gift giving is you can either drop it off at the station, which you'll note that, and make sure that you indicate it's at 3D CAC. It's for that gift drive, or you can do it via online. And outside of that, I want to make sure that everyone knows that we have our PSA block captains. They are ready to get started for this November and for another 1 year term. So anyone who's interested in being a PSA block captain, please go to 3dcac.org and click on the interest form, and you can sign up. We always want all of our wonderful community members to help us in this effort to get our community connected. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Now,
Is there any questions?
Secretary Fay, you had to do that just to put a bookend on it. Any questions for Karen and the CAC? And
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I said I thought there was another topic coming, so I was I was heading it off.
I also saw a hand up from Ms. Davenport from the U.S. Attorney's Office, so if we can enable her. All right, go ahead. You can unmute.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. How are you?
Hello.
I don't have many updates. Only if you would like to receive the court report and you're not receiving it, you can send me an email and I can add you to the court report. And we are still working on Judge Pirro coming to additional meetings in 3D. She's making her way around the city. Being as though she already came to the 3D CAC, she went to 5D. But I let her know that people in the 3D community would like her to come back. So I'm still working on that as well.
To the CAC again? I'm sorry, or did you mean something else?
I'm sorry.
Returning to the CAC meeting or somewhere else?
No, somewhere else.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. Any further questions or community announcements? Seeing none, let's jump into administrative. Got a little pile up of items here, but I think they'll go quickly. I don't believe we have any executive officers' reports, unless I'm mistaken.
Please don't jinx it, Chair.
Seeing none. Seeing none. I know we've had a bad track record lately. Seeing none, I will just give notice that we have canceled the December meeting of the Committee of the Whole, which means we're just gonna go straight into the January Commission meeting like the old days. Let's see how that goes. But with lots of holidays and a relatively slow agenda, I think we can manage. Also giving notification that the commission has fulfilled its statutory obligation to file an annual report. There's a link to it right there in the agenda packet. It's also just at anc1b.org/annual-report. It is a litany of beautiful achievements, I have to say, and may I sing Karen Lee's praises for keeping keeping notes throughout the year in preparation for publishing this report and compiling them very beautifully It is 12 pages, worth a skim through. We have passed upward of 30 resolutions and 18 letters of support. We've distributed about $12,000 in support for community events. We returned to having in-person meetings regularly. We had a wonderful slew of guest speakers, and our committees have been incredibly busy. Very proud that 2 committees surpassed my goal of 10 committee members, 10 members per committee, and are actually have hit the cap of 15 members per committee with waiting lists, which is lovely. I think a further 2 committees do have more than 10 members, but not quite 15. So we did pretty well on our objective that we set in January to do lots of recruitment. Of course, we're always still recruiting for all of our committees, anc1b.org/serve. But really, it's very worth it, I think, to look through the annual report and pat ourselves on the back a little bit for an extremely productive year. So thank you to all of you for your contributions to that. Thank you to Karen, of course, for capturing all of it. Next item is that we need to set our meeting date for January. For reasons that are never quite clear to me, we don't like to set the January meeting date when we set the full calendar of the year's meetings. We discussed this very briefly at our last meeting of the Committee of the Whole. I think everybody is amenable to sticking to the usual schedule, which means first Thursday in the month, except for holidays. The first Thursday of January is New Year's Day, which means we would have the meeting of the commission on Thursday, January 8th, 6:30 p.m. guest speaker, 7 o'clock meeting per usual. Of course, this meeting is special. It's the first one of the new term, and we will have executive officer elections, which means chairperson, vice chairperson, treasurer, and secretary. So I would very happily entertain a motion to fix the date of the January meeting for the 8th.
I move to have the first meeting of 2026 on January 8th.
Second.
Okay, made and seconded. Questions, comments, points of debate? Hearing no objections to the date, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of setting the date as January 8th, Zoom hands up, please. I am 8. That's 8 in favor, 9 in favor. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
It's the day after my birthday, but I'll do it.
Oh dear. All right. Well, good thing it's in the evening. You can recover throughout the day. January 8th, 6:30. It's already in the calendar. Fantastic. Thank you, Karen. And Commissioner Holden, do you have something, or are you still voting? Okay, loves to vote. Next and final thing in this section, also just a pro forma notification to the commission that we have indeed renewed the contract of our administrative consultant, Karen Lee. And we are extremely happy to have her services going forward. She is, without a doubt, the engine that keeps this whole thing going. So Karen, it's a pleasure to work with you. Thank you for sticking with us, and looking forward to a new term of 30 plus resolutions. That's that's the benchmark we're going for. That's all I've got. Let's jump into new business. And first up, Christian, if you're in a good place to
Yes, I'm here.
jump on. Okay, we have a letter of support for the project at 2008 17th Street. Go ahead.
Yes. Sorry, I'm on my phone. So I did send to you the plans for this, although I'm not sure that it's super necessary to look at. This is a very straightforward rear addition to an existing row house. The actual development work is by right, and so what they are doing is coming before the Historic Preservation Review Board, because the development is in the seat. It's on 17th Street in Seton Place, but it's Stryver's Historic District. Thank you. And so they are comply as far as we know they're complying with and are interested in complying with all of HPO's requirements with regard to the facade. And then they have done now some outreach to the abutting neighbors. They hadn't heard any concerns about that at the time of the commission meeting, and I haven't heard anything since. And then I think the two questions that committee members raised, one had to do with parking in the rear and one had to do with trash storage. And the applicant noted that they are retaining parking in the rear of the building, and there will be space for trash storage in the rear as well. Other than that, I'm not sure there's really all that much to update about. It's a pretty straightforward development case. So
I'd like to move to support the letter of support.
Okay, it took me that long to find the box. I'm very sorry.
it's
Kristen, I don't know.
the box folder is a maze, and sometimes the link doesn't work for unknown reasons that I haven't figured out.
It's pretty straightforward. I don't know if you want to take a peek at any of these. Anything you want to say, or we feel good?
You could just
I
walk
think if
through them quickly.
yeah, I think if you scroll down, if people really are interested, if you scroll down a few, you can see the addition. There's an architectural rendering.
It is
and
not
then-
moving. Oh, there we
yeah,
go.
that's the existing, and then there's a subsequent rendering that has the addition onto the end, onto the rear.
Oh. Possibly
Yeah.
this.
That.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Questions, concerns, comments on that?
What I made my motion, so I need a second.
Oh. I mean, I'll second, and then I have a question.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
The second. So it looks like they're with the stairs in the background and the extension, or sorry, the backside. They're converting from single family to multifamily.
Oh yes, yes. Good question. It is. I think that it's a single family currently. They're converting it into. If I'm not mistaken, they're converting it into two units. One that is cellar and first floor, and one that is second and third floor.
Yeah, which is the by right for the zone, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so this house backs up right to mine. I can see it right now. It's a pretty building. That whole like corner block from the alley to U Street are all great big row houses. Recently they were just sold to different buyers all at the same time. A family, kind of the owners of Hana Market, actually owned the buildings, and they've sold them. But this one is now, being split into two units, and it does need a lot of work. So I'm happy that it hopefully is happening quickly, and people are investing in the neighborhood, and will provide more places for people to live in the neighborhood. So I think, and the back addition goes exactly to like the next door addition. So they're just meeting like the same depth as the neighboring lot. So it really is a modest, at least on the outside, a modest addition.
Okay. The motion has been made and seconded. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the letter of support for the plan, please put them up. That's 7, 8. 8 in favor, and we'll mark any opposed. Okay, we'll count one abstention. Thank you very much. Motion passes. Next up, Mike, you're back up. If we want to talk a bit about the grant application from Common Good City Farm, I can pull those documents up semi-quickly.
Great, thank you. And I was worried that I had 3 minutes to get through everything and try to get that passed. So this is a lot more relaxing. So Common City Farm, they're around the corner from where I live. They've applied for the grant in the past, and way back when I encouraged them to apply again. This is a holiday fest that they do annually. I'm going to kind of recuse myself from I recused myself from like voting yes or no at the committee meeting, but the committee did support it. Common Good does this event where they give games, puzzles, food, stuff to help low income and those in need the opportunity to celebrate around Christmas time, Hanukkah, the holidays, with gifts and with celebration. So part of their event is that they also have kind of a small snacks and beverages for people to come in and enjoy while they're picking up their gifts. There's also some decorating Christmas ornaments, and so there's some activities for kids and families as well at the event. What they're looking for is for $750 from the ANC on a grant funds donation. They did get 200 years or $200. I don't think last year, but maybe the year before from the ANC. Our recommendation was to keep it at the standard $500, to keep it just consistent with what has been provided for other organizations, whether it's block parties or other community events. And so keeping that a little bit more consistent. We did vote by email because we ran out of time on our meeting and there was no abstentions. There was just support for it. So there was a few questions about not having food, but Miguel, you mentioned to me that there is ability to allow for food, given that it's for the event and not take home food and stuff like that. And if it's light fare, it is now permissible under ANC funds. On their budget, they have a bunch of stuff. They're giving away coats, toys, gifts. What they'd like to apply the funds toward are some of the like paper plates, the marketing costs, some of the event supplies, and then also, depending on how the budget comes out on their end, maybe also apply it towards some of the light snacks and beverages that they'd have at the event itself. There was really not many questions outside of just the food one. The committee did think it was a good use of funds from the ANC, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have on this.
Commissioner Hanrahan.
I'm sorry, that's from the last vote.
Any questions on the application? Yep.
I'd like to move to support the grant application.
In the value of
$500.
$500. Is there a second?
Second.
Fantastic. Questions, comments, debate?
Well, only one question or comment. I think this is entirely on me, but I'm going to hopefully lean on Karen a little bit. It'd be great if when we approve this sort of thing and we notify grantees, we just shoot them a list of acceptable expenses. It sounds like a lot of that has already been discussed for them, which is great. But it makes our life so much easier if the grantee knows upfront this is the kind of thing we can reimburse, and so therefore, when you send us $500 worth of receipts, please make sure it fits into this category. So I think we could just grab it from existing ANC docs, but Karen, mostly this is like a verbal bookmark to maybe we can pull some quick one page or a paragraph or something together that when a committee chair or a commissioner is in touch with a grantee, we give them, some list of what the acceptable expenses are.
The Committee on Community Engagement, I believe, Mike, check me here, is planning to do some kind of cheat sheet or whatever, along with the work to sort of formalize what a block party application should look like and that kind of stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Super helpful.
And Commissioner, it was a big learning curve on my end, and in terms of what was permissible and what wasn't. So I think if I'm having trouble with it, the grantees are going to have a even bigger questions about it. But I agree, having a list of what's permissible, what is, what's not, that way it solves it from the beginning and then it streamlines it down the road.
Perfect. Awesome. Love that you're already on it.
Absolutely. Great. Anything else? Let's move ahead and vote then. All those in favor of the $500 request for Common Good City Farm, the grant, please put your Zoom hands up. 8. And I am 9, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We've taken care of Spark and Buffalo Billiards. So Stephen, you're back up now. 2 motions to protest renewals, First Uproar and MK Lounge and Restaurant.
Okay. Yeah, the we only had we had seven total tavern licenses that we reviewed this month. So the committee ended up recommending protests for two of them. The first one is the bar Uproar. Uproar is located next to the bar Flash on, or the club Flash on like Florida Avenue. And there is a couple of folks kind of adjoining that the, on the far side of LaDroit Park, where a lot of the noise from those rooftops comes and kind of can go basically reach over to where they live. Um, and so I think sometimes we can't tell the difference between if Uproar is really making a lot of this noise or it's Flash, and they both kind of point fingers at each other. Um, there is an existing settlement agreement with Uproar, but I think uh, issuing a protest to them is fair because the same thing is being done for Flash. Um, and then a two hopefully can kind of put both of them together and come up with a fair solution for either the hours of the summer garden rooftops or some kind of noise prevention construction that could happen um, to kind of help protect that uh, some of the real noise that happens there at those places. Um, so that's the first one for Uproar.
Do you want to move?
I would move, yeah, I motion to protest Uproar on the grounds of peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds, especially noise concerns.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, Commissioner Sycamore, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to hear this. I mean, both Commissioner Fay and I have been working with Uproar for a long time, well, probably since the summer, because I know there were some issues with that. I know they've done a lot of remediation as far as noise is concerned. They've put up a lot of sound barriers. They've put up as much as they can possibly do. So I'm really kind of surprised to see this. I'm not quite sure how much more we can ask of them when they've already done so much. Maybe Commissioner Fay has a little bit of a different perspective, but from what I've seen and working with Tammy and the owner of Uproar and seeing what's going on there, I don't, I don't think I can support a protest on this. It just seems like that we're kind of at a loss here, and I just feel like there's been no remediation from Flash whatsoever. I've been in there, I've checked it out. I don't know. I kind of want to get a little bit more perspective, maybe from Commissioner Fay, since you're the one who's your constituents are most directly impacted.
Yeah, no, thanks. And I want to kind of acknowledge and share appreciation for Commissioner Sycamore reaching out to Tammy when there was an issue over the summer. And the two of us did go over and meet with Tammy. So we had, I thought, a productive conversation. I think that Hanrahan's kind of characterized it correctly, which is there are sound issues with Flash, which has a settlement agreement. There are sound issues with Uproar that has a settlement agreement. And when you kind of talk to both of them, they tend to kind of point the finger at the other one. So I would say that we probably do have continuing sound issues with both. And the goal is, although I know we never and should not ever approach settlement agreements in tandem, they both have adjacent roof decks that are partially open. They both kind of play the same music for roughly the same hours. And looking through the Flash settlement agreement, because we're further along in that, there are a couple of minor tweaks that we're going to be meeting to talk about next week that we think are going to make some improvements. And so we wanted to have the opportunity to have the same kinds of conversations um, with Tammy at Uproar. And so I think that was the objective, was to be able to kind of navigate through it. And Commissioner Barrio, in whose SMD both of those establishments are, they back on to the line that is SMD 1B01. But Commissioner Barrio is would like to be and will be involved in those discussions. And Commissioner Sycamore, I think it would make sense to have you involved in the discussions too. So I think this is a protest in order to kind of get some additional kind of more precise language. And my hope is that we can do that relatively quickly, both with Ashvin at Flash and with Tammy at Uproar.
Can I ask the adjustments with the rooftop or the summer garden on the rooftop? What is your idea, or do you guys have an idea of what you want to do as far as that's concerned, like as far as limiting the hours or?
I think that I think there's probably three layers, and I don't know if it's appropriate to really talk about it all here.
Okay.
But the three layers, no, just in the sense, I don't know how much of these conversations we have, in front of everybody. But the first layer is around kind of decibel targets. So that'd be number one. Because right now I think that Flash and Uproar are kind of trying to outcompete one another. And really what I hear from them is, gosh, my own patrons can't hear my own music. So I would like to focus on the kind of the general decibel level. The second is sound attenuation, baffling, which you talked about what Uproar had kind of put in place. And then the third is around hours. But I think that the goal would be to start with a focus on sound volume and decibel targets, so that they're not constantly drowning one another out, which I think creates an unpleasant experience for them, right, as well as for the community.
We don't have a protest yet out on Flash, is that correct?
No, we do, and
Oh,
we
we
actually,
do.
yeah, we had our roll call hearing with them on. No, we didn't. We actually had our scheduled mediation with them on Tuesday of this week.
Okay. All right, that helps. Have we thought about bringing them both together at all?
I think
Or
we're trying to bring the issues together. But I would actually want to consult probably Vice Chair Harris as to the appropriateness of bringing them together. I like the idea. I always like the idea of more people sitting around the table together, trying to solve joint problems. But let me just check with her and see what the official kind of appropriate way to do that is. But conceptually, I like it.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments, debate? Okay, motion on the floor is to protest the renewal of Uproar. All those in favor, please raise your Zoom hands. Holding open the vote. We've got 5 in favor. All those opposed, please raise your hands. Two opposed, and we'll count 2 abstentions. The motion passes. Thank you very much. I'm going to pause the ABCUR train here for a second. Karen has reminded me that I was remiss in not checking with the group about the scheduling of COW in January. And I don't want to do a round robin email, so we're going to do it in 90 seconds right now. If everyone could please consult their calendars. We had been doing, and Secretary Fay, I'd like to hear from you quickly too. We had been doing committee of the whole meetings on Tuesdays.
Wednesdays.
Wednesdays. Thank you very much. 8 days in advance of each commission meeting. We bumped it back for the past 2 months to the Monday, so 9 days in advance, just to give us more time to prepare the draft agenda. I think that was nice for those of us who work on the draft agenda. Is there any problem with keeping COW meetings on Mondays going forward?
I am all right with that, but I do request that we move them back to the 6 p.m. time because I enjoyed being able to. I mean, at least I'm open to hearing other thoughts, but it was nice to be able to do the meeting and then have the rest of the evening free of ANC work.
I agree.
The meetings, because I feel like it kind of splits your evening in half and makes it harder to, engage in other activities.
I agree with that.
I second
But I'm
that.
flexible. Okay. Mondays, 6 p.m. is in the lead. comments, objections?
That sounds good.
Okay, I expected more controversy. So we'll do it 9 days in advance of each commission meeting. So the first one, well, we have to set the agenda. We have to set the schedule of meetings in January for the year, but let's assume that Feb 5 is going to be the commission meeting. So first cow will be January 26th. It'll be on the agenda on the website nearly instantaneously, I'm sure. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Karen, very much for reminding me. Appreciate that. Back on the ABCOR train, Stephen, the MK Lounge and Restaurant protest.
Yes. The second license that the committee recommended protests for was for MK Lounge and Restaurant on the address is 1930 9th Street Northwest. I think similar to Uproar, part of the reason to want to protest this renewal is that we are subsequently have voted to protest a lot of the other licenses that abut this like alley next to 9.5 Street residences and homes, and we there is no settlement agreement existing for MK Lounge and Restaurant. We also voted to protest MK Lounge and Restaurant on U Street. So I think it's kind of it feels somewhat fair to do that as well. But the biggest concern really is the trash and the garbage abutting them. I think MK is maybe a less offender than some of the other establishments we've heard about from but I still think it's a collective like shared space, and so trying to make sure there's a common language in the settlement agreements for these places and trying to see what can be done to help clean up the area is the goal here. So I would motion to protest MK Lounge and Restaurant on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet and all applicable grounds, with a special inclusion for emphasis on order. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Really made us work for it there. Yep. Okay. Questions? I mean, let me ask a quick question that's almost not germane. I'm sorry. But Commissioner Barrio, I know we have this issue with the former alley having been closed off. And Councilmember mentioned it a bit earlier. Is there some thought that we can reopen it to allow access to that space? Like I have to imagine that construction was not correctly permitted in the first place.
I have tried to find out more about this and have not been able to. Have not heard back from folks at DOB. It sounded like Anthony was saying that they are continuing to work on it. So I am curious. I'm not sure if he's still on or not, but Anthony, if you are, do you know whether there's been any progress made to figure out the legality of the closing off of the alley?
Sorry, say it again. Repeat it
Yeah,
again.
of course. No, thank you for staying on. I was just curious, has there been any progress on reopening the alley between 9.5 Street and 9th Street? Because I had tried to find out, tried to search for records to see if there was an easement granted or not, or other stipulation to keep the alley open. I just wasn't able to make any headway.
All right, so there was some answers about why this hazard hasn't been fixed.
Mm-hmm.
A little detail. I probably have to forward you, but I'll try to give you the short of it. Apparently, when they first did it, nothing else there. So when they first signed the contract, signed everything, it wasn't nothing else there. So it was nothing to stop them from building Like I think they had a
There
permit.
weren't any businesses, you're saying, or
No, it wasn't. There was like a field at one time. So that was like it was like so those stores wasn't there. A lot of that stuff was like
huh?
parking lot,
Okay,
like not a parking lot,
yeah.
but like it wasn't nothing there. So apparently, it's like grandfathered in, and it's going to take a legal action to actually get them to fix it because they realize that there's a problem. We've been working with them. They realize
Hmm.
there's a problem, but it's a little more technical and more legal as far as getting it changed over, fixed. And I can also share with the commissioner the report that the fire marshal gave us and DOB gave us because we've been working on this. So
Hmm.
I can share that with y'all as well.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Thank you
Because
for
I
that. I
thought that
mean,
there were businesses there beforehand, and that there was some sort of like handshake agreement to try to keep it open, but then it didn't happen or something. But it is just, yeah, kind of an untenable situation there.
Yeah, it was something like that where the person agreed to do it, but by law they didn't have to do it. I don't
Mm,
and I think that
mm,
somehow that got mixed up. But we definitely
yeah.
working on it, and I'll definitely loop you in, and because this has been one of the big things working on because
Hmm.
everybody has acknowledged that this is
Yeah.
so now
Have you
it's.
been able to talk with the owner of the building?
Yeah, so I've talked to the owner of the building in question. No,
Yes.
not at the end of the block. So I talked to the owners of a lot of the bars and some of the residents that live on 9.5.
Hmm.
So I've spoken with them. I have not spoken with the owner of that building. But DOB has. I know that for a fact that DOB has
Oh,
spoken.
really?
Yes.
Okay.
there's a
Thanks.
note from our committee member Alex in the chat that says there's an agreement in the deed of multiple properties. Just dropping that clue in here. Again, this isn't quite. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that you are adding that. Patrick, I'm going to come to you in a second. Again, this is not super germane to the motion on the floor, but I wanted to just check in real quick about this and make sure that, we're kind of striking the right balance here between we don't want to punish businesses for something that's not their fault in terms of the space not being accessible. That seems to have been an oversight at some point. But obviously at the same time, they have responsibility to keep that area clean, since they do have access to it and they own it. So, Patrick, I'll turn to you quickly for a comment on that point, if we can enable Patrick to speak. Go ahead, you can unmute.
Just to give a little bit of history here, I won't go too into depth, but all of the properties that are in question, the 9.5 Street and the 9th Street properties, were at one time all one lot. They were subdivided and created the lots that are now on 9.5 Street. The end lot that we're talking about here was never subdivided. When the owner of that lot went to go and construct on the 9th Street side, what he was legally allowed to under the zone, HBRB jumped in and said they would not allow him to do that. So the compromise that was made was that he was allowed to build the building that is now on the alley. And in between the building on 9th Street and the building on 9.5 Street is technically his property that he made into a parking area for his tenants. The original agreement that was made, a verbal agreement, nothing was written in stone, was that he was allowing the people that needed access across his property to use it up until the point where a couple of the owners slash tenants of the buildings that are enclosed on that portion of 9th Street between 9th and 9.5 pissed him off, and he put up a fence and said, "You no longer are going to be able to move on my property. You need to deal with this problem on your own. You have abused your position to move through my property." And apparently, from what I understand, because there was a lot of history on this, one of the tenants' cars was damaged, and there was some other issues that related to this. So DOB has nothing to do with whether they can reopen that or not. That's an issue that remains. And there is one lot, if you look at what you have up on the screen, there's one lot that is towards the end of the alley that has nothing in it now. Is the only
Yes. Yeah.
That's the only remaining lot that's a through lot. And the owner of that lot has had in the past come to try to build out on that, but that's the only lot that's a through lot. All the other lots that you're seeing houses on 9.5 Street were subdivided from the main lot off of 9th Street. I hope
Kind
that
of a
makes
skinny
sense.
lot.
I saw that lot. I was wondering if there's a way we could maybe bring the trash through that lot because that's underutilized. I don't know if there could be some.
That was something that was discussed, to be honest with you, because the three houses that are on the end of the lot, 9.5 Street, they were redeveloped not too long ago, and there was some illegal activity that was done when they were built. And there was some negotiation between the owner of that lot to have the garbage cans that are now sitting out front placed on his lot. But then he put this fence up because I think the same issue arose again with him, that he wasn't happy with what they were doing. So yeah, you could probably address that and see if that'll happen, but it's not going to be a permanent solution because unless they decide that they're never going to do anything with that lot, he owns that whole property.
Okay. Having talked around, oh, Alex has a bunch more detail in the chat. I'm going to pass this along to you, Francois, since you and I have been talking about this off and on for a while. This seems like something we should be able to nudge the city to pull off, but now I've jinxed it. Let's refocus back on the motion to protest MK Lounge. To recap, the issue is that there's often trash and rodents and stuff in that space that's now closed off between the 9th Street properties and the 9.5 Street properties. Anything
Is this
further on
MK
the,
Lounge on you, Stephen, or
sorry,
just MK Lounge on 9th?
This is
Yeah.
MK Lounge on 9th.
Okay.
But we did protest MK Lounge on you already.
That's what I thought.
Right. Any other questions? Discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the protest of MK Lounge and Restaurant, please raise your Zoom hands. Six in favor. Any opposed? One opposed. We'll count 2 abstentions. The motion carries. Thank you very much. Next up, Chair Brandt, we have the resolution in support of the DC Cools Act.
Hello again, everyone. So this resolution is about the DC Cools Act.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah.
I apologize. I saw that Mr. Alemayehu put his hand up. Did you want to speak to the previous thing? I just wanted to make sure we caught you before we moved on to a different topic. Karen, if you can go ahead, ask if you should be able to unmute yourself. You're muted if you, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, about the trash, the easement, maybe it's too late, but here was before the guy he built the building, he asked the permission to build, and then before they build there was parking lot, as you know. Then he told us, if you don't let us to give us the exit for trash, we're not going to let them to build here. And then he said he promised to us he's gonna leave us exit, for trash. That's all 9th Street now. The all 9th Street front is very ugly and smell bad, especially when restaurant like African restaurant smells bad because the fish and stuff they put the front, and people when they walk that side, they can't even walk. The trash can is there, smells bad, messed up. The whole 9th Street is worse than the crowd is. This guy, what he made, he promised, he broke his promise. He was going to give us exit for trash, but now after he start building, he changed his mind. Oh, this is my property. Not nobody let me force me to give you exit. That's all he said. Then if you can fix this one, is we all going to be happy. Even people they live around, they're going to be happy. And And then it is the fire marshal need us to have exit. We all have exit, but at the end, how they're gonna get out? They jump the fence. How they're gonna get out? We all have exit to get out. Anything happen, but at the end, after everybody's come out, the back side and the front side, the back side there is no exit at all because he blocked it. Especially, okay, forget
Okay.
about the trash, but how about the life?
Yeah.
About people's life, what they're gonna get out?
Okay. We'll take that down. We've been talking about it back and forth for a bit. So, Francois, take note of that point, please. I'm passing you the
I
comment
will.
from
Yeah, the
Alex as
fire
well.
safety is definitely a real concern.
Yeah, something must have gone wrong here. There's a hand up
Yeah.
from community member Rayshawn. Karen, if you can enable, let's keep it quick so we can go on to the next thing. But Rayshawn, go ahead if you want to unmute.
Hey, my name is Rayshawn Jacobs. I'm her agent as well, not real estate agent, but agent on behalf of the businesses, her business. So basically, I actually went and spoke to this owner about this issue. He totally disrespected me, so I just walked away. He was in total disregard and said this business shouldn't be here anyway or whatnot. But he was totally rude. He tried not to make no accomplishments. She does have a recording proving that he was going to make this exit available to her, but the exit he blocked, I believe, I'm not sure, is part of the public property line. I went to not archives, but Department of Buildings where I work at to get an exact property line between the properties, and what he actually blocked for the exits is he blocked public property. That's all I have to say. Thank you and happy holidays.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks for making the time for being here and for adding that. That's what we suspected. So you may be getting an email from Francois at some point soon if you have a copy of those documents, or we'll go chase them down too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Christian, back to you. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no worries. So as I was saying, this resolution is about the Cools Act. The Cools Act, just to sort of really boil it down, the Cools Act expands the period of time during seasonal changeover, specifically fall, the changeover from summer to fall, and the changeover from spring to summer, that property owners would be required to turn their heat from hot, or turn their the heat to cooling or the cooling to heat. This is specifically for buildings where those are part of a singular system. So a lot of newer buildings this would not apply to because tenants can control their heat in their individual units. This Cools Act is referencing buildings that have a sort of building-wide heating or cooling system. And currently, I think the time period is like 15 days, and this expands it to more days than that to give landlords more flexibility. So it adds time at the beginning of the period and the end of the period, basically saying that during that period of time, landlords can like if the temperature warms sooner than expected, landlords will now have an earlier date at which they're allowed to turn from heat or from cool to heat, and likewise in the from heat to cool. Excuse me. So basically, it's not actually changing it's not adding requirements to landlords, it's expanding the amount of time. It's basically, this is at least how the council member's office has framed it, and I think that's pretty accurate, is that it's adding flexibility to the time period that landlords have to be able to turn over from one system to the other. So it just gives them a larger window in which they're allowed to do that. So basically, before currently, if it gets hot before landlords are able to turn to cooling, they are not able to turn to cooling until the period of time in the existing legislation. likewise, if it becomes cool, they're not able to turn to heating. And so then they'll be in a unit where the heat's not on. They'll be in a building where the heat is not on, but they don't have the ability to turn the cooling on because they're legally obligated to keep, or sorry, I'm getting my heat and cool mixed up. In the fall, if it becomes colder sooner than what the current legislation allows the turnover to be, landlords are not able to turn the heat on earlier than the legislation allows. And so there have been issues, according to the council member's office, where buildings needed to have heat on, but because it became colder sooner, but weren't able to because of the legislation. So this just expands the period of time in which landlords can decide to switch over. That was a little complicated, I apologize, but hopefully that's clear.
Okay. Thank you. Will somebody move the adoption of the resolution, please?
I'd like to move to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second? Appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner
Second.
Kenzik. Questions, discussion?
So just really quick. So it just basically just clarifies the timeline within the legislation.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't, the council member's office doesn't believe that it will add any financial burden to landlords. It's not requiring them to update their systems or anything like that. It's just expanding the window. So.
And to be clear, when you say the council member, it's Henderson's office.
Yes, it's Councilmember Henderson's office. Sorry, thank you for that.
Okay, if nothing further, all those in favor of adopting the resolution, please raise your hands. That's 7 in favor. Any opposed? And count 1 abstention. The motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, ZPD, for sending it up.
Thank you.
And next, we have resolution regarding the guidelines for the permanent streetery program. Commissioner Holden.
Yeah, so this comes out of TPPS, Transportation Committee, but introduced by our illustrious chair. And the basically the conversations over the last month and a half or so about the streetery guidelines. TPPS had introduced a resolution that we passed on kind of nuisance streeteries, so like one side of the equation, but this is the opposite side of the equation, about how the new regulations were considered too onerous by a lot of the restaurants and a lot of community members too. There's a feeling that the regulations were maybe unintentionally designed to eliminate the streetery program, or at least greatly reduce it. So we just kind of, as a ANC, wanted to show that while we're concerned about nuisance streeteries or abandoned streeteries causing issues with our last resolution, we do like streeteries and feel that they can add a lot of benefits to the neighborhood. So this actually does a lot of the things, or asks for a lot of the things that Councilmember Allen put forth in the emergency legislation. So like kind of loosening those like really stringent standards about where they can be placed, and loosening some of the design regulations that were like preventing them from being winterized or used in inclement weather, and also adjusting the fee to be in line with the sidewalk cafe fee instead of the much higher. So I do think the emergency legislation is covering a lot of what we're doing, but I don't think that's a problem because it just shows that there's support from one of the ANCs for the emergency legislation. It kind of like by happenstance kind of ended up lining up with each other. So that's that.
Okay. Would you like to move the resolution?
I would like to move to support the resolution as introduced.
Second.
Thank you very much. Resolution's on the floor. I will just say how happy I am that TPPS took this up. Did you make changes? Maybe well, a smaller one or two.
A little.
Very.
They were tweaks from what you said. Some language tweaks, and I think you had put like a specific dollar amount for the per square footage. So we just changed the language to be like matching the sidewalk cafe, like things like that. We did small tweaks.
Oh, is it possible that the
It
one
did
in
say a
the
specific dollar amount. It said $5.
So
right?
this is like the same issue as with my other resolution. I sent the drafts.
We've been defrauded. Oh man, I just put up the wrong one on the screen. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's probably double culpability. I think there was a draft and a final in the same file, and I picked the one that I thought was right. So
Okay.
The changes for this one, I'll just do like friendly amendment. The changes for this one are instead of the $5 per square foot, we change it to equivalent to sidewalk cafe fee. And then and that way you don't have to get bogged down in like what's the fee. Like if they change it, it's just always the same for whatever it is. And then the other one was the language in the next section, like the commission recommends the elimination of required setbacks. We just kind of we softened that to be reduce required setbacks from publicly owned infrastructure, just because like the list of things, we were like, well, are there other things besides what's in this list, or is this list of like tree box and utilities and infrastructure like too prescriptive? So we made that more general. And also some people in the committee felt that like some setbacks depending on the infrastructure could be warranted, right? So like a fire hydrant or a pedestrian ramp, you would want it to be offset from that. So instead of eliminate, we said reduce required setbacks, just to be a little looser.
Okay. Those make a lot of sense. I don't actually remember writing the dollar value in there, and it's a very smart change to take it out. So thank you in the committee for that. Unless there's an objection, I'm happy for you to submit that language afterward to the secretary for the final resolution. But if anybody wants to circle back to this later and ask Commissioner Holden to email around the final language, we can do that. Hearing no objection, we'll just steam forward. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Smart edits. We might be coming a little bit late in this, but I still think it's worth passing. I'm sure many people have been following the drama with the streeteries being removed, as we talked about with the council member. It doesn't make sense to me in any way. I testified at the roundtable almost a month ago in Councilmember Allen's committee, as did the chairs of 1A and 1C and 2B and a bunch of commissioners from those commissions as well, which are like the streetery heavy commissions. Nobody likes these changes. This really just seems like rules that were crafted without a lot of engagement with stakeholders and the council honestly not being able to respond quickly enough to catch it in time. So hopefully this will contribute to some repair. Any other questions, comments, debate?
No, this is awesome. Thank you so much for that. This is great work. Great work.
Cool.
Are you proposing, Chair, that we meet 2 to 3 times a month to try to keep ahead of council?
Well, no, come on. I thought it was early. The fact that we were canceling cow, I thought it was an early Christmas gift. Thank you.
Listen, we've done an amazing job this year, I have to say, in like juggling between committee meetings and the commission to try to stay ahead of stuff that happens like quicker than a month. Really, we've done everything we possibly could, I think. So
Best commission I've ever seen in 1B. Best commission.
Oh yeah, best
We got
commission
several more
in district
resolutions,
history.
guys. Let's vote.
All right, all those in favor of adopting the resolution, please put your Zoom hands up. 6. We've got 7 in favor, no opposed. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Next is something that is on page 4. Resolution requesting DDOT engagement on S Street redesign project. Commissioner Holden, Commissioner Fay.
So I'm just going to warn you that this is probably the same issue with drafts. But this one, Commissioner Fay brought to us. TPPS, and we debated. Basically, DDOT did a redesign of the like messy intersection at like Florida and Rhode Island, New Jersey, S Street area, and closed S Street, which has provided, some benefits, pedestrian benefits, travel benefits, but there are kind of some outstanding issues that residents and especially LaDroit Park have noticed. And when the project was out there, DDOT committed to kind of after project closeout, kind of doing like a follow-up and continuing observation of how the newly reconfigured intersection is working, and said they would come back out and assess that. As far as we know, and as far as it seems the like LaDroit Park Civic Association knows, that they have not done that. And so they, in the resolution, they kind of outlined some of the issues with signal timing and congestion, and just asking for a study of the impacted intersections to come back and see if there are additional things with primarily the signal timing that they could do to kind of resolve these outstanding issues. So the resolve clauses are simple. Asking for the traffic study, and then asking for communication on the findings of the study, right? Because the study is no good if it just sits on a shelf and no one ever learns what is in the study. So asking for that, and then asking for DDOT to attend a scheduled meeting of, okay, so this is the thing that might be, where does it say? Oh no, so this is the right version, okay. We did make, originally Commissioner Fay had put LaDroit Park Civic Association. We just changed it to be either the commission or scheduled meeting of TPPS committee to come, because a more public forum than just LPCA. So that was that's the thrust of it. If Commissioner Fay, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. For first, I appreciate the committee for taking this up. Just a couple of quick points. The first is that the specific issue that we're looking at, actually, it doesn't impact LaDroit Park. It's just that people in LaDroit Park are seeing it and they're concerned. But the timing of the light has New Jersey traffic backing across Rhode Island, which then creates backups on Rhode Island and people swerving into oncoming traffic to get around the cars. So it's just one of those things where it's like a super obvious safety issue, and that's number one. Number two, this is a bit of frustration on my part that DDOT has been unresponsive, and so I apologize to the committee and the commission that I'm resorting to a resolution. But having reached out directly to Director Kirschbaum on this, we have now gotten some intention, but I'm looking for her to kind of see that this is something we're not going to let up on. And then I appreciate Commissioner Holden asking the DDOT folks to come back to the ANC committee with their findings. So thank you for your support.
Okay.
So I don't think I moved it, right?
Go ahead.
I'd like to move to support the motion, or support the resolution.
I second.
Okay, wonderful. I'm assuming no discussion. Anyone? Great. All those in favor of adopting the resolution, please raise your hands. 7 passes unanimously. Thank you very much to all. And finally, from TPPS, multifamily disability parking.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen on this one because I know the one in the packet is wrong. Okay, so this is one. Really, the champion of this one is committee member Karen Gall. But we worked on it as a committee for several meetings and got to, I think, a pretty good place. Hopefully the commission agrees on this one. What this one is about, and if you were on the commission previously, or you're a parking watcher, you might have remembered that this topic has been brought up before in ANC 1B, and a resolution was passed a couple years ago, but there hasn't been any action. So that's why we're doing it again. So it's a resolution to eliminate housing discrimination in reserved disability parking spaces. The whereas clauses explain it, but basically there is a program. Oh, and earlier this year, we actually supported a resolution for a resident to receive a reserved disability parking space. If you have a disability ADA placard on your vehicle, you can apply to the DMV to get and DDOT to get a reserved parking space for you if you don't have off-street parking. And there's a couple other conditions that you have to meet besides just having the disability placard. But they will, install a reserved disabled parking space outside of your house, near your house. But this is only available to people who live in single-family housing. People who have the same disabilities, who meet the requirements for having a disability placard on their car, who live in multifamily housing, are not allowed to even apply. So basically, what this resolution does, is asks DDOT and the city to amend the chapter. We put the chapter from the municipal regulations, chapter 1827, to eliminate the single family dwelling requirement and allow all qualified disabled residents with documented medical needs to apply for reserved parking regardless of housing. And just to be more explicit, we say the requirements for this should just be documented disability, lack of accessible off-street parking options, assessment of applicant specific mobility limitations and parking needs, and verification of district residency and vehicle registration. Those are the requirements now. So it's just like reiterating that housing has no place in this, because they would still have to document that there's no off-street parking. Like if the multifamily building had a garage or a lot or something where they had parking available to them, then they probably wouldn't qualify for this. The asking also for fee reimbursement, because it's unfair that people are paying the same fees but not receiving the same service with this. And then kind of similar to, I meant to take out the emergency part, but just putting kind of like a timeline on, we kind of acknowledged in the discussion that like these numbers, like 30 days, 60 days, 180 days, they're not gonna probably do anything that quickly, but like just to put some timeline on it to stress that the community cares about it. And then asking for like outreach. The idea was to establish like a committee that could be updated on progress on this. And this was a suggestion of like who could be in such a like advisory group on this issue. And that's it.
Would you like to move the resolution?
I'd like to move to support the resolution as written.
Second. Thank you very much. Commissioner Sycamore, go ahead.
Hey, so as you know, I work in disability and disability accommodations. So I agree with this in principle, but I'm envisioning like places like Garfield Terrace, which I'm not sure if you're familiar. It's in my SMD. It's right near the top of Florida Avenue, near 11th and Florida. That little intersection is right there. Anyway, I'm envisioning there's a lot of older people who live there. And also I have another senior residence. It's all Spanish on W and 12. I'm sorry. Yeah. W and 12. Yeah. And it just seems like there would be an overwhelming amount of this type of parking that would almost take up the entire block. So I'm just kind of curious how your resolution would address that issue. Just because I feel like that there's, there are other houses on this block. And if there's an apartment building with, 12, 13 residents who also have 12, 13 cars who need a reserved space, that pretty much takes up the entire block. So could you address that in any way?
Yeah, so I think with any of these things, DDOT does have some leeway to approve them or not. Like they can't approve a reserved parking space if there's no, like if it's not exactly what you're saying, but like on a block, let's say you live on a block where it's already no parking, like there's no parking restrictions for some reason, right? The street's too narrow or something, or whatever it may be, they can't, even though you can apply, they can't approve anything for you there because of other conditions. So there's like other conditions that would still be applied. No one would be automatically granted anything. And if not all, of course, not all multifamily buildings have parking, but if is off-street parking available to the resident, then typically they wouldn't approve this either. So I think the main thrust of this is making it so that residents could even apply for it. I think there's several things the city does that I think are unfairly weighted towards single family residents. Municipal trash and recycling, and like the compost program are all only available to people who live in single family homes, and people who live in apartments can't participate in these city services. This is another one. So I think allowing people to apply, and then like DDOT making decisions based off of the conditions on the roadway feels more fair.
I feel like you kind of skirted around the issue. I don't know. To me, it still seems like, and especially in senior citizen communities, there's a lot of turnover. So that's, some years there might be 28, some years there might be 15. So how would they be adjusting the signage that way?
Jamie, in my professional role, I work for Arlington County, and we have a residential disabled parking program too. And as part of that, I can't speak to DDOT's, but like as part of that program, the staff that runs that, they do an audit process every year that like they'll go through the applications and basically recertify them. So if someone were to move or someone were to no longer need the space anymore, they repurpose the space. As we've talked about with the streeteries, the public right of way is a very contested, busy place with a lot of competing uses. And you said this yourself just now, but like for a program like this to work, someone needs to be managing it. Someone needs to know who the spaces are assigned to, what addresses they're for, and whether they're still valid. And if they're not, if nobody needs it anymore, then it needs to be repurposed. And there should be a program that like turns over the signs and either makes it back regular parking or uses it for something else. So that would have to be a part of it.
I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever worked with DDOT, and I know you have, but I mean, they're not great at signage turnover either. I don't know. I foresee a lot of problems. I would like to take this resolution and maybe work on it a little bit more. It seems like there's just a lot of gray areas, in my opinion, and where it can be just not used effectively.
So the committee did debate it for 3 months. If any other commissioners would like to attend future TPPS meetings to debate the resolutions there, I'm always happy to welcome anyone.
A little
I
passive
guess it's also
aggressive there,
important to
Commissioner.
note that it doesn't stipulate anything really, other than we want DDOT to figure this out, which I see as an advantage. We don't want to be laying down all the regulations. That's not our expertise and not our role. I guess it comes down to your confidence in the department to actually do that in a reasonable way without our going through all the work of making those requests.
I'm wondering,
say,
any talk about like having just like an agnostic accessible space instead of a reserved space for multifamily?
So the original resolution was much longer and did include that. But because there's kind of two different topics with disabled parking, right? One is the currently existing reserved disabled parking space program that does discriminate against people who live in multifamily housing currently. So this is an ask to change that. We did have in a previous draft did have language in there about general purpose ADA spaces in residential neighborhoods, because often, on the metered blocks, there might be a ADA space, or in some commercial areas, there might be an ADA space, but often in residential areas, there's none, right? They don't put them as just general purpose parking, except in a couple places they've tried pilots. So we have another resolution in draft that we will be discussing at the January meeting, where that would be kind of like a asking DDOT to explore general purpose as kind of a separate program. But since this is an existing program, we're asking for a change to existing program. And then for a new program, we wanted to have that as a separate resolution to kind of keep it clean.
Yeah, I can just
Mr.
foresee if. Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Fay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like this. I like the principle of saying there shouldn't be a difference in some types of services. There should be a difference between a multifamily and an individual house just because of how the services are delivered. But this is a good example where there shouldn't be any difference between a multifamily and an individual house. The only gap that I worry about, I would still vote to support it tonight, but I'd love to see kind of future discussion on this. The only worry I've got is Jamie's example of Garfield Terrace. Um, I would expect that whoever manages Garfield Terrace, which I think is a DC property, should themselves be allocating some certain number of on-site accessible reserved parking spots. So I wouldn't want this to let larger landlords off the hook from kind of lifting their fair weight. But in principle, the idea of not limiting somebody's access because they live in multifamily, I think is worth supporting. I just would like to see that gap plugged, at some point in the future.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was sharing my screen. I just want to pushback feels too strong, but I want to push back a little bit that I think the resolution does do that because, or at least somewhat, because one of the things that we're highlighting as a requirement, or like what would be the things to make someone eligible for this, is demonstration of lack of accessible off-street parking options. So I think like if there is parking on site, either a lot or a garage, then that's exactly right, Commissioner Fay, that it would be the responsibility of the landlord or the property owner to be making sure that they had the required number of ADA spaces available to residents, and that like then it would be the residents or the landlord's responsibility. I'm thinking of like a 4-unit building, a 5-unit building that like was built in 1920 when there weren't parking regulations, and they don't have any, there's no parking in those buildings, right? So I think that's kind of, it's like those groups, the people who live in buildings like that, who I think would most benefit from this. I think on the bigger properties, there are opportunities for on-site parking.
Great. I had the same two scenarios in my head. So again, I agree. So that sounds good.
We've got a hand up from Courtney Stockland, if we can enable her, please. Go ahead.
Thanks so much. Sort of to echo Commissioner Fay's point, as you folks consider development projects, anything as little as 2008 17th and then as big as 1617 U Street, keep this discussion in mind, right? Because eliminating parking so aggressively as the departing council member who joined us earlier has done, to the tune of 40% in certain parts of our neighborhood, like up on Columbia Avenue, right before it gets to the 18th Street intersection, it has a compounding and domino effect in a community. So, hopefully at 2008 17th Street, even though they're doing the bump out and they need trash space, hopefully they are keeping their 2 spots. Maybe it's pretty tight back there. I went and checked that out. It's possible, depending on the type of car. We see that in that Seton V Street alley all the time. It's pretty car type dependent. But, when these developers approach you for passes on not putting in the supposedly required or regulated or mandated amount of spaces, think twice about making those concessions, because it has such a compounding effect on certainly the most vulnerable residents, as you're discussing here, Commissioner Fay, or Matt Holden. You know what I'm saying, Commissioner Holden, in terms of be really careful about giving away off-street parking, because that is the biggest solution to this problem. And be careful about eliminating on-street parking, because that also is a part of the equation and has been that's been a big problem that I've seen, at least in the Adams Morgan neighborhood. Thank you.
Great.
Cool. Go ahead, Jamie.
And Courtney, thank you so much for bringing that up. This is something I've been kind of fighting for a while when it comes to projects such as the Reeves Center and other places when we're talking about eliminating parking and making this more of a walkable area. These types of things I absolutely 100% understand. But I always think about people with disabilities and think about parking and thinking about accessibility for our neighbors. And this is exactly what I'm talking about as well. And I think Courtney highlighted it far better than what I did. And it's an equity thing, because now if we're talking about the apartment buildings that I have that's predominantly Spanish, it's all elderly and people have the exact same ailments and exact same things and requirements for all that. Suddenly the whole block is taken up. And then some people are getting denied, some people are getting approved, people are getting upset with each other. Why did you get approved? Why didn't I get approved? I don't know. I think this is a great start of a concept, but I think we need to work up more on the details of it. I just foresee a lot of issues coming down the pike with this one.
Do you have a sense, Commissioner Holden, how DDOT thinks about calculating the number of spaces to devote to this per block,
I actually don't have an answer to that one. I think the
PROAG, there's like a PROAG that hasn't been adopted yet, but
federal that wouldn't that be for more general spaces, not for the reserved ones?
Yeah, it's like some might come out.
I'm kind of a philosophy with some of these resolutions that we ask for things as community representatives and push for things, and then it is up to the professionals to make the hard policy choices and implementation and specifics. I think a lot of our resolutions are suggestions and maybe ground truthing or advice, but I'm sometimes not as concerned maybe as other commissioners about putting all the specific technical details in a resolution, because it's not our job to be the technical experts and to be the engineers or planners figuring this out, but to kind of show what the community is hopeful to see.
I just think at the end of the day, though, we're the ones who are going to be held responsible. With our resolutions, it's our votes, it's it's us at the end of the day who get the backlash. It's not anyone at DDOT, unless you're the community outreach person. I mean, unless you're going out in the community, you're not really going to get that, because people are going to use this resolution and say, well, the ANC voted for it, why are you not doing it? And then it comes back on us again. So I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be more hashed out on this.
I found what you said there, Commissioner Holden, to be persuasive. I also want to add that I just had a constituent who was applying for a short-term disability permit for a condition that was in the last 6 weeks or something, which is difficult because you can only apply for 1 week, so she had to do it 6 times, and it was annoying. Which gives you the right to park in the blue painted spaces. And then she went to look at the map of blue painted spaces, and I think the nearest one is on the other side of Cardozo. And she's like, well, if I have to walk 6 blocks to my house up a hill, there's no purpose in applying for this. So I hear Commissioner Sycamore's points, but I also think that we probably don't have enough of this infrastructure proportionally, especially given that that experience ahead. And really, I think it's illuminating to go look at the map of where those blue painted spaces are on streets. There are so few of them in the city. It's kind of shocking. Commissioner Holden.
Oh, I was just gonna say, Karen Gall has her hand up, and she did a lot of the legwork on the resolution. So if she would like to speak.
You're good to go.
Okay, good evening once again, Commission. I am very pleased to hear that this commission is considering this resolution because as a disability advocate and a native Washingtonian, I can tell you that you said you were looking for blue spaces. There's nothing. I mean, it's so scarce that a person with disabilities will have to wait 2 hours to try to find a parking spot, circling blocks off of blocks. And it's very difficult, especially if you think about how vulnerable our population is. And DDOT and the DMV has a list of all of the people who have applied for disability parking. It's not something that's an easy jump that you can just say, oh, guess what? Everybody who's going to all of a sudden have a car that's disabled in a whatever the scenarios that are being presented that's not a realistic scenario because of the simple fact that DMV has a list of the people who are truly applying for these type of parking spots. But the discrimination has happened as you mentioned, Chair Duramo, it has been happening for quite some time, and it's just egregious. And I really applaud this commission for one making sure that they have someone like Chair Holden to come in and champion this, along with myself, as well as our entire committee. They have been extremely wonderful in supporting this. And as Ms. Snowden mentioned, really have to be conscious of our vulnerable population. We have a lot of aging in place residents in this area, and DMV has been doing a wonderful job of keeping track of who needs disability parking. And I can assure you that it's not a lot of people, but my suggestion that we do need at least one in every 20 spaces. Someone with a disability needs that space, and that's for the projected resolution that's coming up next that's on deck. But I want to thank you all for bringing this forward. I can tell you that the numbers are out there and they're not as extravagant as being related right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Sycamore.
Yeah, and I'll push back, Ms. Gull. Thank you so much for your comment. I'll push back just a little bit. There probably is not a comprehensive list of this because, as Chairperson was saying, this is only for single family residents. So the DMV or DDOT will have a list of people who've applied. And if you're living in a multi-unit building, you're obviously not on that list because you can't even apply in the first place.
Well, applied for, okay, the disability parking permits and tags are permitted to people who apply for those under the
Correct.
RPP program. Now, those people, that's where that list starts at. Okay. And then, of course, you have the legislation that is in place right now. But as far as those people who are interested in applying for the actual on-street parking because they've been discriminated against for such a long time, they do have a list of people who've applied and been rejected. So at least you can get some numbers, do a FOIA, and you can get some information from that if you're really truly interested in the specifics. But knowing that this commission is bringing this forward now, and knowing that there's a possibility of you seeing the real true numbers that you're requesting, Commissioner Sycamore, I'm sure that you'll get what you're asking for. But it's only a benefit to this commission and across the district to see that we really care about our residents who are disabled. But thank you so much.
Thanks, Ms. Gull.
I believe we're ready to move to a vote.
We moved it, right?
Do it again just for fun. Wave your wand. Moved. Is there a
Second.
Fabulous. Anything left? All right, let's vote. All those in favor of adopting the resolution, please raise your hands. We've got 6 in favor. All opposed, please raise your hands. 6-1 to 0 abstentions. The motion carries. The resolution is adopted. And our agenda is completed at 9:30, which feels really good. Anything else? Secretary Fair, you're muted.
I just said it does feel great.
Woohoo is in order. All right. If nothing further, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Beautiful. Without objection.
Happy
Meeting's adjourned.
holidays.
Thank you, guys.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.